enrichment. It's about what are the things we need to watch out for when we see that maybe our marriage is kind of, going through some trials. What are the things we can do to kind of rejuvenate it? So, and that is why I will want to get started by first of all calling our attention to some part of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل للتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. Allah is calling our attention here, and that part of the Quran is from Surah Al-Jurat, where Allah is calling our attention that, O ye mankind, it is indeed Allah who has created man, and out of him he has created his wife, Hawa. He created Adam, our forefather, and out of him he created his wife. And out of these two, he has created different tribes, a lot of people in races, in tribes. And it is not for any other reason but for us to know ourselves. And when we are talking about marriage, we know in Islam, marriage is something that has to do with a union of a man and a woman. And irrespective of our tribes, irrespective of our race, Islam has no limit as to who we should get married to. And towards the end of that ayah, it says, the reason why he has created us in different forms, in different races and tribes, is for us to know one another. But of course, before Allah, the best person that is honored before Allah is the one that really fears Allah. So which means when it comes to marriage, the fear of Allah should reign supreme. In another part of the Quran, Allah says, and that's Surah Al-Rum, Quran chapter 30, verse 21, where Allah says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Allah is also saying here that one of his signs is that he has created وَمِنْ آيَاتِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. He has created a man, and out of him he has created his wife. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. The reason for that is that he will always find tranquility in her. And he has put between the two of them love or affection and mercy. So which means when we are talking about marriage, it is for us to know that Allah has created us in pair so that we can find tranquility in one another, because he has put love and mercy. And indeed, there is a sign for those who can really ponder. So talking about marriage in Islam, we should all know that it is an institution. It is something that we have to recognize as one of the pillars of Islam. And marriage in Islam means the union of a man and a woman. And that is the way Allah has described it. And another part of the Quran, it says, الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض وبما أنفقوا من أموالهم. That is, when we are talking about marriage, we should also know that he has said we should come together as one, but he has made a man to excel. Allah has said in that part of the Quran that he is the one that has made a man to be the one that will be the protector, the maintainer. So which means it is a responsibility of a man to be the one that will keep his home, that will maintain his home. When it comes to finances, it should be the one in charge. When it comes to protection and guidance, it should be the one in charge. And in some hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet sallallahu was reported to have said that an-nikahu min sunnati, faman ragibati an sunnati falaysa minni. The Prophet sallallahu says that marriage you see is my tradition. That marriage you are looking at, it is my way of life. The union of a man and a woman, it is something we have to recognize in Islam, because it is my way of life, And whomever has decided not to be part of that is not part of me. And in another narration, it says, marriage is half of our deen. So when we have attained marriage, it is as if we have completed half of our deen, and he has admonished that we should fear Allah in the remaining half. So talking about marriage in Islam, it is something that we should all recognize as an important concept in our life as a man, as an important concept in our life as a woman. And that is why we must know what it means in Islam, how we can go about it, what are the ways that a man should be responsible in a marriage, what are the ways that a woman should be responsible in a marriage. It takes two to tango. We have to come together to know our rights. It is a union that every partner must know his or her rights in that contract. And as we all know, marriage in Islam has no time bound, because a marriage that is successful in this world, definitely, inshallah, it's going to be the continuation of such lifestyle in the hereafter. So even when we die, the Prophet ﷺ has taught us that when we get to the other side of life, we will continue to still remain together as one. And that is why we must know that marriage is something that we should know about very well, we should approach very well. But having said all this, we know there are a lot of trials that we do come across in marriage. And that is why we have invited a number of scholars to our midst this morning to kind of enlighten us. There are some challenges that we do see today in marriages. Many marriages are not working the way it should. Many have resulted in divorce and stuff like that. And as a Muslim, we must know what should be our roles, what should be our functions, what are the things we can do to kind of work together to make sure that all these unions will not, result or end up like this. One of the traditions of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam I want to point our attention to is where he says that a woman has been created from the most curved part of the ribs of a man. So a woman has been created from the most curved part of the ribs of a man. When we leave it the way it is, it will remain crooked. And when we try to straighten it, we're going to break it. And to break it is to call for divorce. So when we look at the explanation behind this hadith, what it's trying to tell us is that some of us today, when we get married, we want to really see that perfection in our wives. We want to make sure that this is the expectation we want her to come up with. And when we see that she could not really do that, when we try to, we start passing blames. We start picking faults here and there. But the Prophet ﷺ is trying to let us know here that there are some limitations that women have been created with. And no matter how hard we try, we may not really be able to get any magical way of turning things around. So we just have to accept our wives the way they are. Wherever we see that they are deficient, we just have to try our best to make sure that we live with those deficiencies and we try to support them in any way we can. Having said all that, it's also very important that there are some ingredients that we have to consider today that could really help our marriages. One of them is patience. We have to look at the patience the Prophet ﷺ had with his wife. We have been told there was a time when Prophet ﷺ had issue with his wives, that he had to abandon them for about a month. So he left them for about a month. So when it was day 29 and he came back to them, they were saying, but you say you are going to leave us for like 30 days. It's just day 29. And Prophet ﷺ smiled and said, well, of course that is true, but we should know that there are some months that are counted as 29, and there are some months that are counted as 30. So no matter how things might be tough in our homes, we must know that patience is key. Patience is ingredient. We have to make sure we try to put that into place. And as a man, we must know our rights, our responsibilities in marriage. And basically, the Prophet ﷺ has admonished that if a man can provide a shelter for his wife, that is number one, and he can clothe her, that is number two, and he can feed her, that is number three, that kind of man should get married. That kind of man should have a woman. And of course, we must know that from the ayah of the Quran I've just read, it is the responsibility of a man to spend on his wives, on his kids, on his home. We need to know that if a woman is trying to be, as to be supportive. We shouldn't take that for granted. We should still know that it is still our right as a man to make sure that things are done correctly. And of course, a woman also has her home part to play. She should be the one to take care of the home. She should be the one to make sure that things are done correctly. Kids are well groomed. They are well, trained. I mean, in another hadith of the Prophet, it says, every one of you is a shepherd, and Allah will ask each of you how he has been able to take care of the responsibility in his care. As for the imam, Allah is going to ask him how he's been able to take care of his followers. As for the man, Allah is going to ask him how he has been able to take care of his family. As for the woman, Allah is going to ask her how she's been able to take care of the properties, which of course her husband has entrusted with her. And as for the slave, Allah will also ask him or her how he or she has been able to take care of all those responsibilities that he or she has been charged with. So we must know that as a woman, as a wife in the house, we also have our roles. We also have our part to play. But we must know as a Muslim, everyone has gotten one responsibility or the other to put in place. But these days, there are a lot of challenges that we see that have really affected a lot of homes. Many marriages have ended in divorce. Of course, we have said that it's always good to be patient. It's always good to understand one another. It's always very good to put Islam first in anything we do. But even with all this, we still have challenges. We still have problems. What are the ways that we can really go about things so that things will not really end up this way? And that is why we have had our speakers in the house. For me to conclude, I just want to know that there are a lot of things that are happening these days, and I'm going to be categorizing them into abuses. And these are some of the reasons why we are having, conflicts in marriages, where we're having many homes, ended in divorce. Number one is verbal. Like we all know, anything we say, once it is out, we really can't take it back. And as a husband, as a wife, we need to be very cautious of this. The way we express ourselves, the way we communicate to one another. When things are not going right, the way we go about correcting one another, it is very, very important. But when we see that one partner is actually going beyond the limit that Islam has set, then that could really end up in having some marital conflicts. Homes will not be settled, even kids will not be properly raised. And what will be the end result of this? Divorce. Physical abuse is another one. Some people cannot really do without hitting their wives. And this is no in Islam. We must know the limit that Islam has set. Rasulullah is our best example. We've never had, all through his life, that at one time or another he raised his hand to hit his wife. And as a Muslim, we must see that as a very good example. It is no, and we must try as much as possible to avoid this. Another one is the abuse, which of course I categorize into sexual abuse. We must know when the time is right. We must know the limit of one another. We must know the expectations that we express for one another. And when we see that some circumstances are not really right, maybe one partner is not really in the mood, or he or she doesn't really want to get to that level, we must understand one another and we must give room for excuses. And lastly, is the financial. It is also very important that we must know that it is the duty of a man to spend on his wife, on his family. In one tradition of Prophet, it says, the best among you are those who are best to their wives, and I am best to my wives. So which means as a man, we have to be best to our wives. And the same thing and vice versa. A woman or a wife should also be best to her husband. It takes two to tango. We have to know what are the things we can do to spice up our marriage. And we know to this end, SNMO has gotten something in place, which of course we call couples retreat, to kind of see how we can learn more from our marriages, to see how we can put some spices into our homes, to see that we can kind of rejuvenate that. Like our father would say, even if some of our parents have been married for decades, you will still see them that they really want to feel that connection they had the very first time when they saw one another. So, and that is what marriage should be all about. Marriage should be something that we should look for a way to spice it up, to make it appear the very first day we saw one another. Of course, there might be some challenges here and there, but it's very, very important that we should try all our best to make sure that everything appears new, to make sure that things come, the way it has started. We pray to Almighty Allah to make it easy for us. And we remember some of our members who are having some challenges in their various homes now. We pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to put peace in their various homes. We pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to put mercy in between the two partners. For those who are, for some of our young ones that are looking for partners, we pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to continue to be with them, to guide them, to choose the right partners, and to be with every one of us. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاك الله خيرا.
Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Ibrahim, for always. We thank you so much. May Almighty Allah continue to bless you and your family abundantly. So inshallah, the next thing on the agenda is Quran recitation by Hafiz Abdullah Olakukon.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا وآتوا اليتامى أموالهم ولا تتبدلوا الخبيث بالطيب ولا تأكلوا أموالهم إلى أموالكم إنه كان حوبا كبيرا وإن خفتم ألا تقسطوا في اليتامى فانكحوا ما طاب لكم من النساء مثنى وثلاث ورباع فإن خفتم ألا تعدلوا فواحدة أو ما ملكت أيمانكم ذلك أدنى ألا تعولوا وآتوا النساء صدقاتهن نحلة فإن طبن لكم عن شيء منه نفسا فكلوه هنيئا مريئا ولا تؤتوا السفهاء أموالكم التي جعل الله لكم قياما وارزقوهم فيها واكسوهم وقولوا لهم قولا معروفا وابتلوا اليتامى حتى إذا بلغوا النكاح فإن آنستم منهم رشدا فادفعوا إليهم أموالهم ولا تأكلوها إسرافا وبدارا أن يكبروا ومن كان غنيا فليستعفف ومن كان فقيرا فليأكل بالمعروف فإذا دفعتم إليهم أموالهم فأشهدوا عليهم وكفى بالله حسيبا. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. O mankind, fear your Rabb, who created you from a single soul, and from it he created a mate spouse, and from two of them he spread large number of men and women. Fear Allah to be pious, in whose name you ask your rights from one another, and respect relations of womb. Indeed, Allah is ever watching you. And give to orphans their wealth or property, and do not exchange your defective with their good one. and do not consume their wealth, mixing with your own wealth. Surely that would be indeed a great sin. And if you fear that you will not be able to deal justly with the orphan girls, then marry those women who please you, 2 of them or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you cannot do justice in treating them equally, then marry only one woman or slave maid who is possessed by your right hand. This is more suitable, and it will save you of doing injustice. And give the woman their dowries as free bridal gifts on marriage graciously. But if they give you willingly any part of it on their own, then take it, use and enjoy with pleasure. And do not give to the weak-minded fool that property which Allah entrusted as means of their support and subsistence, and provide food for them and clothe them from it, and speak to them with words of kindness, giving an honest advice. And support the orphans, keeping them busy till you make sure that he or she has reached the age of maturity. Then, if you find in them a sense of sound judgment, so return to them their property, and do not consume it extravagantly and haste before they are grown up to maturity. And if the guardian is rich, then he should abstain from spending their wealth. And if poor, then let him take a reasonable for his guardianship. Then when you return their property to orphans, call witness on them, and sufficient is Allah in taking accounts. Sadaqallah al-Azim.
Allahu Akbar. MashaAllah, that was beautiful. Barakallah fi. Thank you so much, Hafiz Abdullah Alakoko. May Almighty Allah continue to bless you and make you the coolness of your parents' eyes. Amen. All right, so up next, this is the moment we've all been waiting for, the first lecture of the day, inshallah. It's going to be by Sheikh Imam. I'm sorry, I'm calling him Imam because he was Imam at Beer Creek Masjid, ISGH, right here. So Sheikh Hasan Siddiqi. He's going to be talking to us on strengthening marital relationships, prophetic examples. So inshallah, afterwards we're going to have questions and answers for about 15 minutes. So if you please send your your question directly to me in the chat, that'll be awesome. All right, so a quick bio about Imam Siddiqi. He's a graduate of the Alamiya program from DUNY. He has his master's in Islamic sciences with Dr. Bilal Phillips. He's a trained chaplain based in Houston, Texas, who currently serves various communities with educational and spiritual services. So my mom and dad in the house, brothers and sisters, please welcome Sheikh Hasan Siddiqi. Hello, Mr. sir. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that everyone is doing well. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا وسندنا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد واهتدى ومن يعص الله ورسوله فإنه قد غوى ولا يضر الله شيئا. أما بعد، قال تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة وقال تبارك وتعالى في مكان الآخر هن لباس لكم وأنتم لباس لهن وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم النكاح من سنتي صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. All praises certainly belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon all of his blessings. We seek the help and assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of our affairs. We seek and we beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his forgiveness for all of our sins. Whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does guide, none can misguide. Whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides to lead astray, that individual will never find for themselves a guide. And we testify that there is truly none worthy of worship except Allah alone. And we testify that indeed his servant Muhammad salawatullahi alayhi is his true messenger and final prophet. And after that, I seek the refuge of Allah, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evils of myself and the evils of the shaitan. And I begin. Alhamdulillah, a successful marriage, a fruitful marriage, a marriage in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put barakah for us, a marriage in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will teach us or show us that this truly is a ibadah, right? What does that type of marriage look like? What are the ingredients, the elements, the qualities, the structure of that type of marriage? And we don't need to really look that further, except what we have amazingly in front of us, and that is the Quran. We don't need to go really beyond that. The reason is, well, Aisha radiallahu anha, she reports that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the embodiment of the speech of Allah. And that's a very strong statement. He was the embodiment of the Quran. And the Quran has given us beautiful guidelines on not only how to strengthen our marriage, but how a successful marriage should look like, that it never really needs strengthening, but only a reminder so we can stay strong as married servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And definitely we will go through a few points. I mean, it's such a vast topic. Those who might know me from social media, they know that this is not a topic that can be covered in one day or 2 days or a lecture or two. I've dedicated a series to this on multiple social media platforms, but today really focusing on the point on how to strengthen our marriage. And when we look upon this, and when this topic is being discussed, hey, let's have a topic in which we talk about strengthening the marital bond, right? One thing we need to first immediately highlight through our analysis, reflection, is, why does my marriage need strengthening to begin with? Why is my marriage becoming weak? Why is the bond failing to exist the way it's supposed to? And quick remedies won't help. Quick remedies, this lecture today is a quick remedy. Lectures online and khutbahs and meetings and counseling, those are quick remedies. But the major thing that we need to do is reflect. And we need to reflect deeply within ourselves, right? Number one thing, when you want to fix your marriage, brothers and sisters out there who want to strengthen your marriage, number one thing is, do not look for the faults of your spouse. Doing that is what got you here to begin with. Reflect. Number one is reflect in yourself. And then reflect upon those things which mean something to you, that you take guidance from. For people who are led astray, it's everything but Islam. It's this ism or that ism and that trend and this trend, right? Different people's different ideology, different people's different philosophies. And when we try to adopt that, when we have no basic ground to fall back on, there's not going to be, it's not going to lead to much success. And, I kind of want to highlight this before I even start, because no matter what I say right now, the objective of what I'm about to say, and inshallah, when we hear this and we benefit from this, is we need to backtrack to see, my marriage shouldn't have ended up here to begin with. My marriage should not be in one thing is a mid-age crisis, or one thing is a dull phase of the marriage. In a dull phase of the marriage, that should not even actually be occurring, but that's very natural. But if my marriage is falling apart, becoming weak, if my sincerity to my spouse and my family is not there, then the issue is not your mid-age crisis. The issue is something else. And that is the issue I want to highlight. I want to highlight what is a successful marriage in the eyes of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala and in the sunnah of his messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And when we can, in Christianity, obviously we don't believe in this, but the concept, it resonates. When they do this, they call it renew our vows, which means I promise to you to be like this. And over the course of, X amount of years, maybe I've messed that up. Let me renew my intentions. We don't have to do it in a very, that type of manner. But when we marry, in Islam, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the advices he gave before he passed away was, do not break the bond, the promise with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by which you made these women halal for yourself. It's a promise to Allah. So it is a type of a vow that I accept. This is and we're going to get into this. This is something from Allah to me. This is something amazing from Allah to me. And I promised Allah something. But unfortunately, we don't promise Allah anything to begin with, and that's why everything falls apart. So let me, without further ado, start, and I'll touch upon a few different things. Number one, just for those taking notes or someone who wants to truly benefit, I'm going to talk about what is a successful marriage. Then I'm going to talk about conflict resolution. Conflict, and it's not going to be too tough, but they're going to go in hand to hand. But I'm going to talk about conflict resolution, because when we are troubled is what defines our bond. When we say through thick and thin, when everything is all good, our bond isn't really defined. But when things become shaky, it really that's when we're tested. And lastly, give a few examples and remedies, antidotes from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that we can immediately implement in our lives. But let's discuss what a successful marriage is, because our marriage should not have come to a weak point if these things were implemented. Our marriage should not have come to a point where we need someone to tell us, how do I strengthen my marriage? Right? It should not have got to that point, but it's okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this basically, Allah leaves the door of tawbah open. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Inna Allah yakbulu tawbah ma lam yughargir. Allah will accept the tawbah as long as the soul has not done the gargling. Meaning once it reaches here, it's over. So you have so much time, death, right? So we have to take this point and this moment as tawbah. And tawbah is a whole different thing in itself. But and we don't really understand tawbah. Honestly, we think tawbah is when you sin only. The Prophet saying, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that I am doing tawbah 100 times a day. Is my voice clear to everyone? If everyone can just kind of check me off. If anyone's having a difficulty hearing me, let me know, inshallah. I think I should be pretty clear.
We're hearing you good.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So the niyat of tawbah is what we're making right now. That, Ya Allah, I'm making tawbah. And don't understand tawbah to be forgiveness. The Prophet of Allah has no sin, but he's saying, Inni atubu fil yawmi mi'ata marra. Over 100 times I'm making tawbah to Allah. Merely, just linguistically speaking, tawbah means to return back to Allah. Let's take this moment to reflect on my faults and let me return to Allah to fix these. Let's just use this as very simply right now. What is a successful marriage? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'm going to mention 3 verses which are going to define a successful marriage. And then I'm going to use a 4th verse to define our roles as husband and wife to a successful marriage. And I want to go through this quite swiftly. Number 1, Allah says, and this is amazing, Allah says, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ, and we have placed between you مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً, compassion and mercy. Now, what's beautiful is, subhanAllah, Allah is describing in this paragraph, you sort of say, in this sequence in Surah Al-Rum, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, and from his signs. So Allah is trying to guide the creation, that look at the stars, look at the sky, look at this creation and that creation. SubhanAllah, it will lead you to the Creator. And in the midst of this, Allah says, and from his signs, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, and from the signs of the existence of something supreme, something beyond, is the marital relation. About how two people in a pure marital relation, not this corrupt, haram marital relation, right? And I say haram because we take all the haram avenues. There's halal avenues to get to know somebody before marriage, but we utilize all the haram ones, right? And then we wonder why the barakah isn't there. But Allah is saying two people who know, they're familiar with one another, but they don't know much about each other, and they come together. And they say two words, I accept, I accept. And after that moment, before that moment, if you were to ask these people, who is the most dear to you? Who is the most beloved to you? Their answer would be without any doubt, someone else besides them. But the moment they say, I accept, Allah says, and from the signs of Allah is that he immediately puts compassion and mercy. That is in the beginning. That is immediately in the beginning of all marriages. We can all testify to this, and I'll explain what compassion and mercy is. But when that compassion is changing, or that mercy is leaving, that means what? That means we have turned away from Allah, hence Allah has taken his sign away from us. So subhanAllah, Allah is saying, look at this creation, look at this relationship. You know, me and you, we can decide. We cannot decide, on any relationship that we have in this life. You don't decide, I can't decide on my father, my mother, they can't decide on their children, nor on my siblings, nor on my grandparents, nor on my uncle, aunts, nothing. But Allah gives you the choice to decide on the most important relationship, because this relationship will further continue humanity. This relationship will be the means to either bring more believers or believers into this world. So Allah gives you full right. And he says, choose that person for yourself. And once that selection is made, Allah is saying, from his signs is Allah puts love and compassion and mercy. Love and compassion, very simple. This person, our companion, our spouse should be extremely beloved to us. And the way I would like to explain this is, look at your children if you are blessed to have children, or look at those who are blessed to have children. That is pure love, pure love. Even when they make mistakes, you get mad, you get upset, but you continue to love. You continue to show compassion. When you get mad and upset at the mistakes of your child, or when you see a parent and they might get mad and kind of manifest their anger in the wrong way, what do they immediately do? They feel bad and they hug the child. They apologize to the child because of their misbehavior. That is the level of love that we need to have. Wallah, keep that example in mind, that this wife and this husband of mine, they'll make mistakes. I will get angry, but I'm not gonna be the one to say and have that ego and let shaitan creep in and take the love away. I'm gonna go out of my way to make this up. And if both sides have that, mashallah, that understanding, then love is established. What is mercy then? If I'm loving, what is mercy? Subhanallah, mercy. What is the idea of mercy? And this happens immediately, the honeymoon phase, quote unquote. Mercy is, I know my rights, or I think I do, and she thinks she knows her rights, but that's not the focus. My focus is, I will fulfill your rights, even if that means I have to sacrifice mine. That is a type of mercy that you're having on an individual. Keep that mentality, wallahi, and just for the sake of Allah. Because Allah is saying, this is from my signs. So if you're in a marriage and you are showing love, and you are having mercy in the sense that I'm willing to sacrifice my rights, have mercy on you, not demand them, but fulfill yours. Then when I do this, I am fulfilling my part on keeping this marriage from the signs of Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah calls it ayat, like he calls the Quranic verse ayat. This is one of the amazing signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the first two things to keep in mind. The next verse, and this is the verse that I would really like to go into. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Hunna libasun lakum wa antum libasun lahunna. That they are females, they are garments for you, O men, and you are garments for them. And this is the verse which will I will use to, inshallah, really. I'm sorry, I'm having some issues over here. I'm going to use this verse, inshallah ta'ala, to really get into this part of successful marriage. What is Allah talking about? Why is Allah called us, right, as spouses, a garment for each other? And this, if you take nothing away from everything I say today, take these 5 points away. What does it mean to be a garment? And become this garment. Wallahi, if you are not this garment, then your marriage will not strengthen, it will not flourish, it will not be successful. Ayah number 2 for a successful marriage is a garment. So now, what does libas do? What does a garment do for us? Many things. Number 1, a garment or a piece of fabric, right, a cloth, it is close to us, right? What I'm wearing is the closest thing to me right now compared to anything else. So it's something that's very close, very, very near to you, right? Behind our garments is bare skin. So our spouse, Allah saying, they are clothing for you, meaning they are the closest for you. Make sure they remain that way. Like we make sure the cloth is the closest to me. If between this cloth and me, something else comes, then I will be what? I will not feel, secure. I feel exposed in a sense, right? So likewise, our intention should be, I need to be the closest to her, and it needs to be reciprocated. So a spouse is close to you in the manner of emotionally and physically. Obviously, physically, domestic abuse is a very serious issue, and I'm not going to really get into this right now. Those men or those husbands who are involved in physical abuse or in any sort of violence, that needs to be definitely stopped. And that needs to be definitely, women need to understand they don't need to live like that. But I'm not going to go too much into that. What I want to get into is, over the course of my years and experience as imam and also as a chaplain, is that there are also innocent husbands. There are men who feel and who are victims of abuse. And you're going to mention how. Women don't hit. What do? They take away this libas, this proximity, this closeness physically. They'll demand things in their marriage in terms of materialistic things at the cost of, if you're, for example, she says, I want this purse or this vacation or that. And he, for whatever reason, let's say he's not agreeing. What she will take away is physical proximity next with him. And that is immediately going to be step number 1 for your marriage to weaken. If you make a person's right, if I have a right, for example, a right to breathe. I have the right to breathe. This is a right, Allah has given me and all humans have. But if someone puts a price tag on that right of mine, then that's oppression and makes that right of mine like a luxury. You're lucky that you're breathing right now, right? No one will, that relationship will never, ever, ever work. So in a marital relationship, sisters, do not make the physical proximity with your husbands come with a price tag. The moment it comes with a price tag, quality of being a garment for him will finish. And naturally, you'll be like, well, I'm fulfilling. Well, he's getting what he wants, and I'm getting what I want. Then how come the marriage isn't working? Because you're not a garment for each other anymore. So number 1 is, a piece of garment is close to us emotionally and physically. Let me talk about emotionally. This is point 1 still. Guys, engage with your wives. Engage with them on what's going on in their head. When they share with you, and I think all husbands, including myself, were a victim to this, but I think experience teaches is the best teacher. When they do share certain things with us, right? When our wives are sharing exactly how they feel, allow them to share that without saying, why do you feel that way? Allow them to completely say what they need to say, even if that means we might have to hear something negative about our mother or our sister. That's how she feels. She needs to, and I'm going to get to this, she needs to feel close to you emotionally for that bond to be strengthened. If you cannot tolerate to hear it could be true, it could not be true, but if you cannot even tolerate to hear the negativity of yourself or others who you love in your family from the person who you should love the most, then how do you expect that bond to work? They are our wives, not slaves. They're not supposed to be there for only our physical enjoyment. That's my right. Well, news flash. It's her right to be emotionally close to you and mention these things. If she does not mention, likewise, guys, imagine your wife is not giving you physical proximity, then naturally, think about this, naturally you will search for it outside. Then wallahi, when you don't offer your emotional proximity to your wives, wallahi, she will seek it outside the marriage. It could be with her mother, it could be with someone else, it could be with a ghayr mahram, but she will seek that because that closeness, that's what a marriage is. Think about it this way, that if she doesn't physically come close to me, naturally I'm a guy. I will seek for it otherwise. Then understand this very naturally. If you don't allow her to become comfortable and close to you emotionally by sharing what she needs to share, she will share that outside. So when you find out, why is your wife telling your mother something, her mother something, and about you or something else, or why is she sharing this and why is she sharing that, right? First of all, sisters and wives, go to your husband first. Yes. And if that fails...
You know the first name? I only got the last name. Okay, let's stop.
Am I continuing or is it?
Yes, please continue. Sorry about that.
Sure. So likewise, sisters, as I was saying, do not share these things, especially about the marriage, to others outside the marriage, right? Share it with your husband first. If he is not reacting well, I would still not suggest to share it with, non-neutral, unbiased individuals. Share it with a counselor. Share it with an imam. Sure. Look for unbiased, solutions. But guys, when you do figure out that the same thing she told you, now she's telling her mom, her sister, and others, you lost that opportunity for proximity. She tried, but you lost it. So number one, what does a cloth and garment serve as? Closeness, emotionally and physically. Number two, protection. The cloth serves as protection, right? It protects us from heat, protects us from getting bitten when there's mosquitoes. It protects us from all sorts of things, from all external harms. All external harms. So I need to serve as a means of protection for my wife, and my wife needs to serve as a means of protection to me from all external harms. All right? This is more heavily a duty upon the husband, right? Because it's very physically involving. For example, he needs to provide for her a place. He needs to provide for her provisions. He needs to physically be there as a source of protection for her. But at the same time, she needs to do the same thing with what? In his absence, all of his wealth. In his presence, who enters his home and who does not. His children, everything, all of that. But as a means of protection. This is very clear. I can really chop this and get into this deeply, but guys, one thing I would like to mention, and even girls, the mahar, the dowry that you promise your wives, that is a debt on you. You could be a shaheed, martyr in this dunya, wallahi, if that debt is not given to her, that debt is not forgiven. Ghufir al-shaheed, the Prophet ﷺ says, for the shaheed, everything is forgiven except a debt. So you could be martyred in the path of Allah and you're not giving your wife her dowry, you are not completely forgiven. Rather, you are in big trouble. Number two, so give that dowry to her the way she wants it. And sisters, know this, it's your right, not your parents, not your brothers, not whoever got you. It's your right. No one can force you to give that right away to anyone. If you choose to, you can forgive it on him. If you choose to, you can give it and give it to someone else, but that is your right. Number two is protection, nafaqa, spendings. This could be a daily, a weekly, a monthly allowance for your wife. You need to give this to her. The Prophet of Allah, the Quran speaks that spend on, you know, the one that bore your child, or the one that will bear your child. So your wife, spend on her. When you give her that amount, whatever that amount is from your, you know, Allah talks about, you know, difficulty and ease. Whatever your situation is, give it justly. Don't ask her, hey, I gave you that money last week. What happened to it? Oh, I gave it to my father. He needed it. I didn't give it to you to give it to your father. Oh, I gave it to my brother. Oh, am I here to give your money to your lousy brother who's not? No, you cannot. You cannot question. Your job is give that money to her. What she does with it is between her and Allah. If she goes and even, you know, gambles it away, that's like, okay, that's wrong. But that doesn't give you the right to take that away from her. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us rizq. And when we do haram in it, Allah doesn't just take it away. He still provides. Right? So that's our right is we keep giving. And we keep guiding and giving nasiha if she's doing something wrong with it. But we cannot question. And sisters, you need to know that. In terms of protection, the roof that the guy is required to provide for his wife is something. It's just something that privacy is there. As long as it's a safe place, it could be literally one room, but it's privacy, meaning no one can see or hear them. That's sufficient, right? Sufficient. It's enough. So if you're living in a joint family place, and the guy, let's say, you know, it's his mother, his father is living in a house with him, the wife is there. Here's the issue in that. If the room or the area of the house allocated to this couple, is she can walk around freely in it. She just look. If a wife or a woman has to wear hijab in her house, that's not privacy. Point blank. And who does she have to do hijab from? The husband's brother, the husband's cousins, right? Not the parents, but the parents' siblings. Yes, right. So all of that. If she's just there, no, that's not privacy. So, but if she has that privacy where she can walk freely, meaning she's privacy in terms of seeing and hearing, when she is, and this is her right, and to be quite frank and quite open, when she desires to be intimate, and that is wallahi her right as well. In some cultures it's considered, how can a woman desire to be, how can she even have the desire to initiate intimacy? No, that's her, wallahi, that's her God-given desire. That's her God-given right to initiate intimacy, to grab the husband by the hand, like the way the husband grabs her by the hand, and you know, obviously mutually, but bring her to the room. And if she wants to do that, and the house is not allowing it, the area that she's living in is not allowing that, that is not sufficient. That was my point of mentioning all of that. So the number 2 point about this libas is protection. Number 3, why do we wear clothing? A lot of us, beautification. Subhanallah, beautification is the number 3. The husband and the wife should complement each other. How, you know, to give you an example, the clothing that I would wear or that we would wear, it would complement my skin tone, it would complement my hair, it would complement my eyes, it would complement my shoes, it would complement all these other things, right? That's how I would wear it. Likewise, in our marriage, we need to complement the features, internal and external qualities of our spouse. We need to be the person that brings the best out of the things that are already so good in them. To bring out the best of what they're already good at, right? If your spouse is a person who's a workaholic, right? Then encourage them to be more successful. Encourage them to be more successful. If your spouse is a person who likes to go to the gym, then encourage them to be good at that. Be dedicated to that craft. If your spouse is a person who's into education, wants to learn, then encourage them, facilitate them to take classes, right? And whatever they like doing and whatever their good qualities are, allow them to flourish in that. If your spouse has a quality of great humor, then don't be so sensitive to their jokes. Rather, allow them to flourish in that. That's one element of beauty. The other element is, one element is whatever they're good at, highlight it, bring that, enhance that for them. And the other element is whatever qualities they're deficient in, you help them recover in those. You help them become better at those things, right? So same example if I was to give. If your spouse is a workaholic, encourage them to be the most successful they can. But if in becoming a workaholic or in being a workaholic, they're deficient in maybe giving proper time to others, then give them the nasiha, facilitate them in how they can do that. If your spouse is very good at organizing things, right? So make sure you facilitate in that and keep their things and schedules organized, respect that. But at the same time, maybe they might be very good at organizing everything, but maybe not, in terms of work and in terms of, let's say, finances and work and profession, but they might not be good in organizing things in terms of relations, family, and socializing. So you help them in that. Whatever they might be, what if they have an anger problem, right? All these things, bring the best out of them is the beautification. Whatever they're good at, help them get better at that. Whatever they're bad at, become a means of nasiha. And as I mentioned in the beginning, wallahi, take this, whatever I'm saying right now, as a means of reflection. When someone gives me advice, here's the thing, guys. If anyone in this world gives you advice and you get mad at that, that is a sign of arrogance. And the Messenger of Allah said that anyone who has a mustard seed, and Google what a mustard seed size is. Anyone who has a mustard seed of arrogance in their heart, you could be 5 times salah, all Ramadan, Taraweeh, Qiyam, Quran, Khatam, Zakat, Hajj upon Hajj, Umrah upon Umrah, everything. But you failed in the most important category, which is akhlaq. And because once you feel you're better than others, you will not, and once you feel that arrogance is there, the Prophet of Allah is saying, a mustard seed amount of arrogance will prevent an individual from entering Jannah, and they will enter Jahannam. Allah protect us from that. So when you get advice, take it with a grain of salt. The fourth quality of a garment is comfortability, right? There's only 2 more. What is a cloth is something that's comfortable. If something is beautiful, if something is close to me, it's warm, but it's not comfortable. So it's just like way too tight or way too loose. Just not, I would not really wear that for too long, or like to wear that the next time after one. So what does it mean for a cloth to be comfortable? Exactly, we know what it means in terms of cloth, but what does that figuratively mean in marriage? That when one is around their spouse, right? If I'm around my spouse is around me, they feel at ease. They don't feel like, okay, I gotta watch what I say, watch what I do, watch what I wear. Is he in a good mood? Is she in a bad mood? No, I should just be very easy, very calm, meaning almost like really good friends. And their hearts need to be at rest, right? So you need to be very chill and calm. And if that's not there, for example, if the wife is always like that, husbands, go to them and tell them, I know in the past I messed up and made you feel a certain type of way on certain things, and you're feeling uncomfortable. You got to communicate and let them slowly. It's not going to just happen overnight. She didn't become like this overnight. She didn't become like, all this kind of, uncomfortable around you overnight. You made it like that for her. So now rework it backwards. And here's the thing, unfortunately, we know all these things, or we get to know all these things, but we never work on it. So basically, that's as simple as that. We should be relaxed around our spouse, find comfort in them and their words, especially when those words are difficult or when they're in a difficulty, right? Just be comfortable around your spouse. And that comes with communication. That comes with wanting to be that libas for them. That comes with wanting to have love and compassion and mercy. And the last but not least feature of a cloth or a garment, it hides and screens you, privacy. sisters have this issue the most. Guys will never share secrets of their wife because a guy, generally speaking, perceives his wife as his honor. And so him saying stuff about his own wife in a gathering, for guys, it seems as I'm dishonoring myself. They don't like talking about it, and they don't like others talking about it. Like it's a no-no. Women, on the other hand, hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, hadith of the 10 Qurayshi women, and each one of them taking the faults out of their husbands. They do this as if it's subhanallah, as if it's a norm. First of all, it's a ghiba. Second of all, it's a ghiba to probably the most important person who's in your life. And it's ungratefulness. What does it mean for a cloth to hide and screen you? What this means is this individual in front of you has physically, hopefully emotionally and mentally and even financially exposed themselves completely to you. For you to take advantage of that and share that even as a joke, or even as, well, my mom is the closest. No, with anyone is treachery. It's like taking a piece of fabric and ripping it. This fabric is beautiful. You might be a wife who brings out the best of your husband. You might be a wife your husband is so comfortable around that he shares everything with you. You might be the wife that your husband is close to emotionally and physically comes close to you and allows you to do the same. You might be the wife that protects your husband and is protected by him. But you, at your own hands, will take this beautiful cloth in marriage and rip it the moment you do not take care of the privacy of marriage. You are destroying, and he might not know it, but Allah knows. And Allah knows. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who makes this nikah, this marriage, a libas. So to Allah, this libas is now torn. What will that do? It will weaken the fabric of marriage itself. And then you'll think, where's the issue coming? Maybe all these years of you telling all these bad things about your husband to your mother or your sister or your father is the reason. Is there a way to undo that? There is, but the way you did it over the course of all these years, the reverse has to be done over the course of multiple years. Allah protect. I'll use one last verse. I was going to mention 4, but I'll mention 3. One last verse for us to understand, not only to strengthen our marriage, but to successful. So the first verse I used about love and mercy was a verse about how our intention should be, or what our approach to marriage, or what the reality of marriage should be for us, and Allah explains it. The second verse is implementation. How will this marriage become a marriage of compassion and mercy? Is when it becomes a marriage of libas, right? When the relationship is a relationship of libas, is how it's going to become. Love is going to be there, and mercy. Now, Allah wants you to understand one last thing, and I'll use the verse. Intention. The last verse is on intention. Your intention, how can I view this person as this libas? Why is it important for me to understand that love and mercy needs to be in this bond? Why is it important for me to understand that love and mercy in this bond will only come when I am a libas for her and she's libas for me? Why? I did her, because some people are, I did her a favor, her family a favor. She's like, I did him a favor. Allah wants you to understand nothing. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ. Allah is saying, when you make the dua for a wife and a family, you say hab. You don't say رَبَّنَا أَعْطِنَا, give me or grant me. You say hab lana. The word hab is command form for hiba, which means gift. And not just hadiya, hiba. It's a very like cute type of, it's a very innocent, it's a gift. It's a gift you don't deserve. Allah is saying, when you make dua for a spouse and your progeny, ask Allah to gift that to you. Wallah, you don't deserve. So when I perceive my wife as, this is the person Allah has gifted me, the person I don't deserve, how do I take care of this gift of Allah? then you will come to libas. I need to become a libas for her. And once you do that, Allah will put mawadda wa rahmah, love and mercy in that relationship. You have to, wallahi, if I gave you, or forget me, the president, the prime minister, the world, the UN got together and you were called and all the leaders of the world are there and everything is being broadcasted and each one of them gave you a gift. And then 1 month later or throughout that year, each one of them called you to their country with a special meeting. You would want to bring that gift with yourself to show them appreciation, that I value your gift. The King of all kings, the Lord of the universe, the creator of all creation is giving us our spouse as a gift. And he's making it the coolness of our eyes to us with a condition. If you understand that this is a gift to you, it will become the coolness of your eyes. Coolness of your eyes means you're pleased. You're pleased by this person as your spouse because Allah granted it to you. Allah granted it to you. So when your intention is this is a gift from Allah, you will become a libas for her. She will become a libas for you. Right? Sisters, when you have that understanding, this person, this husband of mine is a gift from Allah. I may not see it. And yes, we all do live in a world where people do oppress, where people do not fulfill the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what I'm saying is today we need to focus in on me, not him. Today I need to focus on me, not her. If we can collectively focus on me, right? I focus on me, she focus on her. The problem will be solved, or at least we'll be on the right track to get better. View each other as a gift. Become a libas for one another. Allah will put love and mercy in that relationship. And once that is there, you both will become the coolness of each other's eyes. I have a lot more to say, but I don't know if I have a lot more time. So I can give a few practical examples from the life of the Prophet.
You have about 2 more minutes, sir.
About 2 more minutes. So I'm not going to be able to get it done in 2 more minutes. But just kind of give a holistic review of everything I mentioned. Number one is, if our marriage is at this stage where it needs strengthening and rebonding and it's weak, then the issue is not going to be fixed with quick remedies. It's going to be fixed with reflection and and reflecting in ourselves and then looking back to our sources of guidance. We need to have a source of guidance. That's number one. Number two, when we look back at our sources of guidance, Allah describes a successful marriage to us with a few highlighting words: compassion, mercy, garment, gift, coolness of the eyes. So what is Allah saying over here? Allah is saying, number one intention, view your spouse as the gift of Allah. Gift from Allah to you. When that is there, you will begin to have value and appreciation. Number two, become a libas for them. What does a libas serve as? Something that's close to you. So proximity and emotional and physical well-being. It protects you. So guys, this is heavily on us in terms of protecting them through our wealth and our physical being, giving her the financial rights that she deserves. Number three, beautifying her and she beautifying you, which means magnify the already existing amazing qualities in one another and enhance the weaknesses in one another to become strengths. Number four is comfortable. Allow the other individual to really just be themselves. Really just be themselves. Umar said, in front of you, talking to the public, I am a man. Behind closed doors, I am a child. Right? Meaning I'm absolutely just completely, let your guard down. Be comfortable around your wife. If your wife begins to call you by your name or it's not disrespect. The Prophet ﷺ's wives called him by his name and he did the same thing. Right? This is not disrespectful. So become comfortable. And number five, protect, hide and screen privacy. Honor the privacy of the relationship. That's how you become a fabric. right? A gift, become a fabric, become a garment. It will lead to mercy and compassion. Show compassion, right? And there's I can take a whole 20, 30 minutes on what does it mean to show and express. Tell your wife that she looks beautiful. Tell your husbands that you love them. Show them, give them a hug. It's fine. If your child sees you kissing or hugging her mom, it's not the end of the world. They should see that. Children need to see, yeah, daddy loves mom. And they need to be taught, quick point. This is how a child is raised. From 0 to 7, show them Islam. Don't tell them a single word. From 7, give them good encouragement about Islam. So when they do good things, reward them from worldly things that they enjoy. From 10, bring discipline. Take things away from them that they enjoy if they don't follow Islam. And then after that, they become baligh. That's it. You've just done your job. So when you show them from that 0 to 7 age that this is what it means to be a good husband in Islam. This is what it means to be a good wife. Obviously, there needs to be haya. You can't just have nudity around them, but to hug, to kiss, to hold, to express in front of your child. This is what we're supposed to be doing, right? Do these type of things. Allow each other to become comfortable. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before I take questions, Allah allow us to become strengthen the bonds in all of our marriages. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep the waswas of shaitan away from our marriages. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to practice the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is the guidelines from the Quran in our marriages. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our spouses, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala change our intentions, help us understand that our spouses are gifts to us from Allah. May Allah make us the libas for them the libas for us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the love, mawadda and rahmah between us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make each of us the qurratu a'yun, the coolness of the eyes for each other. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our bond and only allow it to grow stronger and stronger. May Allah allow us to get closer to Allah, His book and His Prophet's sunnah, and protect us from all sorts of evils. Ameen.
Jazakallah khairan kaseeran. Imam Hasan, thank you so much. That was beautiful, mashallah. So we have a few questions, and also please, if you have questions, please type it in the chat box or send it to me privately. That's fine. So the first question I have here is when a man does not provide for his wife and actually believes that because we're in the United States we have to share bills, what can a woman do in regards to this? Or when a man feels she has to compulsorily look for a job to support the family as well?
If the man believes that, then we have a serious issue. Because when you say believe, he believes, meaning this is the truth, this is the reality. The reality for such husbands is the burden of providing or the financial responsibility of the marriage is on him. And so he is the maintainer of the home while she is the maker of the home. So what I'd like to say over here, a practical solution to this is, okay, ask him, if I begin to also provide, are you willing to jeopardize the tarbiyah, the upbringing of the children? Are you willing to jeopardize that for X amount of money? Because this child, whenever we do have a child, number one, so the number one is going to be, well, are we not going to have children because of financial flexibility for you to work and me to work? Number one. No, so if he says no on that, the Quran stops from there. The Quran says, do not disregard having children due to poverty, due to wealth. So that is clearly going against the Quran. You live a life like that, the life will not be filled with barakah. Right? It will not. Simple as that. Number two, he says, no, we will have children, but put them in daycare. So you ask them, this child will be raised with kuffar, or this child will be raised with someone not their mother. Who's going to teach this child to say Bismillah when he eats? Who's going to teach this child to say what dua to say when he enters the bathroom? Who's going to say MashaAllah to the cute things they begin to do when they're learning? Who's going to hug the child or say Bismillah when he falls down? Who's going to be praying Salah in front of this child when it's Salah time? When me and you are earning outside and we leave this child for 4 to 6 hours with people who are who quite frankly only care about him because their job, they're getting paid for it. Then when that child grows up and is disobedient or not attached or just simply doesn't care, are you ready to take that risk and say, yeah, it was enough? Financially being the provider is 1/4 of marriage. What about mental stability, emotional stability, physical stability? And then there's financial stability as well. So are you willing to jeopardize 3 major portions of a successful marriage just to be optimally successful in one? Right? So that's that. Anyone who believes from the bottom of his heart that we live in America, we're supposed to share bills, well, you know, that's, if you truly believe that, you believe opposite to what Islam is saying. And quite frankly, I fear for your iman, right? You can say, this is my opinion, or I need help. Okay, we can do that, right? We can, but here, the issue is this, my sister. The issue is our dreams are this big while our ability to accomplish those dreams are this small. This small, brother. Who is, if you're a doctor, an engineer, an IT, or whatever you're into, if you could truly afford that dream, yeah, then go work for it. You would never need her to begin with, or her, you know, her contribution. But the thing is, we have dreams this big, and our ability to earn those dreams are this small. So what we'll do, we'll get a house on riba, right? Or we'll get a loan, which is riba. We'll do everything to fulfill this big dream. And then what happens? Everything, our whole life, all components of our life will become troubled. Because now, anytime when you take a riba or anything involved in riba, you know, Allah says you have waged war with Allah. And imagine waging war with Allah. Barakah is snatched right and left. Rather be content with what you have. Wallahi, وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشُّكُورِ. Allah says, I've given you everything, but why? Very few of my servants are just grateful. Be grateful for what you have. Right? Live in a house or an apartment or a place that you can actually afford comfortably. Don't look at others that are around you in terms of the dunya. Don't look at the success of the dunya. The Prophet Allah says, in terms of dunya, look at those beneath you so you can be grateful. And in terms of deen, look at those above you so you can actually achieve that, the ultimate success of the akhirah. So all of this is actually a big hole, big black hole in the heart, in the iman. If anyone who has these trains of thought, you know, on all these different points that I've mentioned. I hope I was clear enough to answer that. I know it's a tough, these type of questions, to be honest, needs counseling, not an answer, right? They need to actually sit down and be counseled. The man, whatever I just said right now, he will, if he heard it from me, he'll be like, yeah, it makes sense. If he heard it from you, he won't even accept it. So this requires counseling, wisdom, somehow, you know, convince the individual to come in for counseling.
All right, and our next question is, bearing in mind that diplomacy is an indirect way of lying, how then can diplomacy be applied to marriage? So I did ask this person for clarification if necessary, but if you understand the question, you can please go ahead.
I don't understand that question.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, and I asked for clarification because it says, if bearing in mind that diplomacy is an indirect way of lying, how then can diplomacy be applied to marriage? So I don't know in what sense, but I asked for clarification.
We cannot be we can't be diplomatic when it comes to marriage. That's just being, I mean, if I'm understanding that correctly, a diplomatic person is actually is someone who's very good at being two-faced. That's the worst thing you can be in marriage. Like, yeah, let me tell my husband one thing and let me tell my mom one thing. And when she wants to hear what she wants to hear, I'll tell her that. And when he wants to hear I'll be that. I mean, if that's, I mean, I don't understand if that's the question, because that cannot be in marriage.
The person just sent another message stating, is lying necessary to manage from breaking? Maybe. I think. From breaking.
Yeah, sure. See that they're exactly getting at what I was saying. They're just being good at lying, right? Or being good at being two-faced. Is lying necessary to save a marriage? I don't think you can be the judge of that. That would need to be determined by, let's say, an imam or a mufti, and you say, hey, imam, like, it depends. Like, if you cheated on your husband and now you're pregnant and you're saying, yeah, I'm telling him this is his child just to save the marriage. No, obviously not, right? So it depends on what's the level of the lie and what's the current situation. But there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that there are 3 scenarios where lying is allowed. Number 1 is in war, right? Because the objective is not to be truthful and the objective is to win. Number 2 is if 2 people or 2 agencies are fighting, 2 could be people or companies or whatever, and you for the intention of islah and rectification, that could be in relationships as well. You lie things just so they come together, right? The greater good. And between husband and a wife, but this isn't trivial matters. For example, she says, do I look good in this dress? The truth is you want to say no. But over there, the Prophet is saying you lie and tell her, yes, she does. If she's saying, was my cooking good? If in your heart of hearts, you're saying no, right? Then you can't be like, well, I have to tell the truth. No. Over there, you lie and you say it was amazing, or it was really good, but I think it will be even more better if this whatever you feel is missing is added to it. And likewise, if he's saying whatever he's saying, in these minor things, they keep someone's heart, keep their feelings, right? You can lie, but not not on major things. If he's saying I left $5,000 here yesterday, I can't find it, and she definitely knows who took it, and he's like, do you know who took it? And she's like, I don't know who took it. No, that's so it depends. It depends on what the situation is, but on very trivial, minor, insignificant things, just to make sure the other person's heart is not hurt, right? Yeah, you can make these types of lies. So it's very case to case, and I can't give a blanket answer of yes or no.
All right, Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh Hasan Siddiqi, thank you so much. We really enjoyed it. Actually, we have one more question, but because we're running out of time, we're just gonna well, that's my question, but I'm gonna skip that. No so problem. Inshallah, we're gonna call on Dr. Abdul Rashid to please make dua for Imam. Oh, you would like me to make dua, or is no? No, Dr. Abdul Rashid is gonna make dua for you. So all you have to do is say Amin. Okay.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh Hasan Siddiqi, for this beautiful presentation. Pray Allah Azza wa Jal to reward you abundantly. We really gained a lot from the presentation this morning, and we pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to let this effort weigh heavily on your scale of good deeds. We pray to Almighty Allah to give us better understanding of what we have heard from you and to make it easy for us to put into practice. Amen. So ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت سميع الدعاء وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. جزاك الله خيرا.
Thank you so much. And so next we're gonna have our next moderator, Sister Hafsa Adediran, for the next segment, unless Brother Abdul Jalil wants to add anything else. So
no, inshallah. We move to the next segment, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh Hasan Siddiqi. We really appreciate honoring our invitation, inshallah. So we make our next moderator to be co-host, inshallah. And Sister Afsa, just trying to find her, inshallah. I'm not sure which one. I have 3 Adidirans here. I'm assuming is the first one. Okay. Can you speak, sister, please? Sister Hafsa. You can unmute yourself.
Sorry, Now I'm unmuted.
All
So
right.
I want to welcome everyone to this second segment. If you enjoyed the first one, you can be rest assured that the second one will even be as interesting as the first one. Without taking much of your time, I would like for us to introduce our second lecturer. Well, the topic she will be treating will be marital discourse, when and how to get help. So Sister Afshana Haque will be treating this topic with us let me just say a few things about Sister Afshana Haque. Sister Afshana Haque is licensed marriage and family therapist, a supervisor that is an assistant professor of marriage and family therapy at the Department of at the same department in the University of Houston, Clear Lake. She also has her own private practice called the Afshana Haque Therapist, with a contributing author for the Stones to Bridges column. No, the Stones to Bridges, the Stones to Bridges magazine, and for their Fatima column, and she also has a column also. She's a co-author, contributing also to in a column of Muslim Matters and What Matters Forum. She enjoys conducting workshops on parenting and other mental health issues for various groups and organizations. She's a mother of one and she has 2 cats. So without much ado, I wanted to say she's a cat parent as well.
Sorry, Sister Afshon.
What?
Sorry to interrupt you. Invite Ibrahim to recite the Quran first.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. Sister Afshana, just pardon me. I had gone beyond what I was expected to do. That's what happened when you just call some random mothers to do some things. Okay, so we have to start first thing first. So we have to, let me call Brother Ibrahim to recite some part of the Quran for us before we start this second segment. So I will be calling Hafiz Ibrahim to on the floor to recite the Ibrahim Salami. Ibrahim Salami is a recent Hafiz in our midst. Is one of the torchlight of our society as an Hafiz. Okay, so Brother Ibrahim Salami, if you are here, you can go ahead and recite the portion of the Quran.
He needs to be unmuted. He said he can't unmute himself.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وأما الذين كفروا وكذبوا بآياتنا ولقاء الآخرة فأولئك في العذاب محضرون. فسبحان الله حين تمسون وحين تصبحون، وله الحمد في السماوات والأرض وعشيا وحين تظهرون. يخرج الحي من الميت ويخرج الميت من الحي ويحيي الأرض بعد موتها وكذلك تخرجون. ومن آياته أن خلقكم من تراب ثم إذا أنتم بشر تنتشرون. ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون وهو الذي خلق الليل والنهار والشمس والقمر والنجوم مسخرات بأمره إن في ذلك لآيات للعالمين صدق الله العظيم.
Thank you, Ibrahim.
Akbar.
Can you proceed with the English?
And as for those who disbelieved and belied our ayah, proofs, evidences, verses, lessons, signs, revelations, Allah's messengers, and resurrection, and the meeting of the hereafter, such shall be brought forth to the torment in the hellfire. So glorify Allah above all that evil they associate with Him, O believers. When you come to the evening, offer the Maghrib sunset and Isha night prayers. And when you enter the morning, offer the Fajr morning prayer. And His are all the praises and things in the heavens and the earth, and glorify Him in the afternoon. Offer Asr prayer, and when you come up to the time when the day begins to decline, offer Zuhr prayer. He brings out the living from the dead, and brings out the dead from the living, and He revives the earth after its death, and thus shall you be brought out resurrected. And among His signs is this, that He created you, Adam, from dust, and then Hawa, Eve, from Adam's rib, and then his offspring from the semen, and behold, you are humans being scattered. And among His signs is this, that He created for you wives from among yourselves, that you may find repose in them, and He has put between you affection and mercy. Verily, in that are indeed signs for a people who reflect. And among His signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the difference of your languages and colors. Verily, in that are indeed signs for men of sound knowledge.
Jazakumullah khairan, Ibrahim. Thank you very much for the beautiful rendition. May Allah bless you, and may Allah continue to increase you in wisdom and hikmah. May Allah make you a light in of Islam. So, since I had earlier jumped the gun, I won't go back to reintroduce the lecturer, but I will just lead her on. So, once again, Sister Afshana Haque, she is a licensed therapy, and she will be taking care of the topic, marital discourse, when and how to get help. So without much ado, I will be yielding the floor to Sister Afshana Haque to proceed with doing justice to the topic at hand. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Afshana Haque.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much for having me. And you did beautifully, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. I did have a question. I know the timing's a little bit off. Would you like me to shorten it a little bit? I can, or if you want me to stick to the same, that is fine with me too.
Well, I won't be the one to answer that question actually, but I expect one of the organizers will answer your questions. So, yes. Brother Imam Ibrahim Aladejo, you or Brother Elias?
Yeah. Inshallah, sister, you can continue for 40 minutes, inshallah. We have some time, inshallah.
Okay, jazakallah.
We didn't want to shorten your, you've spent a lot of time preparing for this. we want to listen to you, inshallah. Hopefully we'll have enough time before Zohr. So we're good.
Inshallah. Yeah, that's my problem. I can talk for 3 hours or I can talk for 10 minutes. So whatever you need me to do. Okay, let me share my presentation. Okay. Let's see. I don't know why it took me over to a different. Can you see the?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes.
Wait, do you see the presentation mode or do you see the presenter mode?
We see the presenter mode. I think you can click on that display setting and change.
Display setting.
Yeah, you can change, I believe, from there. Swap.
Excellent. Yeah, did that work?
Let's see. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you.
No.
So as was mentioned, my topic today was marital discord, when and how to get help. I was going to go into a little bit about marital discord itself, you know, a little bit about why it happens, what causes discord in the relationship. But I think we're actually pretty good experts on understanding why and how the discord happens. I can talk about it. Maybe it's another topic for another time, because when I started thinking about the when and the how, I realized, I was like, you know what, there's a lot of wisdom into picking that topic because it's actually not talked about very much. I think we do talk a lot about the marital discord itself, but not necessarily at what point do we get that help. So I did decide to stay focused and discuss this. Now, if there's something else that you would like me to expand on, please do let me know. So when to help, I thought I would start with a few analogies, right? So relationship are like cars. What do you do before purchasing a car? Or what do you do when you have a car? You research, you learn about it, you take it for tune-ups, you take it for checkups, you change the oil often. You don't want to wait until it breaks down, because what happens when your car, if you wait too long, you don't service it regularly, then it's going to be a very, very costly endeavor to try to get it fixed. Now, if you're taking care of it good, you know, you don't want to have to start replacing the entire engine, you know, that's going to be problematic. You have to get rid of the car. But if you take care of it, it will serve you well, it will drive smoothly, and it will give you very little heartache. So I think that's a good analogy. Another analogy is when you go start a full-time job, right? It's a big commitment. You get educated, you get trained, you learn the skills, you learn how to troubleshoot, you learn how to problem solve. And then there's a continuing education aspect of it, right? So if you're a medical doctor, you have to do CMEs, a continuing medical education, the CLEs if you're a lawyer, CEUs if you're a therapist, et cetera, et cetera. And so the third analogy that I'd like to relate it to is your physical health, right? When you think about, well, when should I get help for my relational health? Well, think about when you get help for your physical health, right? It doesn't start from the illness. If you look at it in a broad perspective, it starts from even before you were born, right? There's the prenatal care. That's so important. We know so much, especially with our modern advances in technology and medicine. We know how much the time in the womb can impact the actual life on this earth. Then there's the initial checkup, but it doesn't stop there. Then you do the annual visits, you get your vaccines. And what do they say all the time in medicine? That prevention is the best cure. And this is the same as with your relational health. And then there's different kinds of management, right? There's maintenance, there's acute care, there's crisis, there's long-term care. And so when you're wondering about when to get help for your relationship, think about it in these terms, right? When would I fix my car? When would I take care of my car? What would I do for a job? What would I do for my physical health? And how much more important is your marital? You know, sometimes we think, oh, you know, this is just something that you do extra. But as we go into this presentation, I added in a last slide of why seeking help is so incredibly important, but I'll save that to the end, inshallah. Okay, and if you think about it, we seek help all the time. We already do this, right? When we fight with our spouses, what do? We stay quiet? Usually not. You call up your mom, you call up your sister, you call up your cousin, your best friend, you do research on the internet. You go to conferences going, you know, maybe I'll find a fatwa to fix my wife. Maybe I'll find a fatwa to fix my husband. Or you call your sheikh.
You know, what do you say? Hey, he won't help me with the Zoom classes that the children has to do. He won't help me manage. He won't take out the trash. Or, oh, she's mad at me again. I don't know what to do. I can't get anything right. What's going on? So we seek help all the time. So this is not new for us. So we don't have to change what we're doing. We don't have to change seeking help. Like, I don't have to convince anybody to talk to somebody, right? Maybe perhaps just a slight adjustment in getting an understanding of when exactly we need to move on to the professional help, okay? So I actually don't have a problem with you going to your mom and your sister and your brother and your cousin and your neighbors. You know, I think, and more so you'll find in the field of marriage and family therapy, we're very systemic oriented. And so the larger your support network, the better it is for you. You know, the more support you have, the more relationships you have, actually the greater the outcomes you have in your relationships in your family life. A long time ago, we were raised by a village, right? This is the first in the history of humankind, very recently, that the burden of the family falls slowly on the mother and the father, or the husband and the wife, right? In this day and age, we take care of everything, the finances, the home, the schooling, the after school, the religion, and everything. Some communities are more village-like than others. But before, you know, we go back to the home countries, your grandma's helping, your uncle's helping, you know, it's just so much easier to raise the children and to be married and to seek advice and to seek support. And so if you have that support system here, by all means, utilize it. Go to your friends, your family, your religious leaders, your community leaders, read those self-help books, make dua, seek prayer. I encourage you to do all of it. Now, when do you seek professional help? Usually think, okay, well, maybe when it gets really, really bad, right? Like if all of those other things aren't working, then if it's bad enough, if we think I'm about to leave, then I go for professional help. Absolutely not. Just like I mentioned earlier, do not wait until you are on the verge of a divorce. Unfortunately, I do get some clients like that. They'll say, hey, I'm about to leave my partner. I'm about to leave my spouse. I don't think there's anything left, but if you can provide me a miracle, if you can provide us a miracle and convince us to stay, that's why we're here. At that point, that's going to be, is it possible to reunite a couple who is at that level? Anything's possible, but will it be more difficult? Yes, absolutely. Kind of like the analogy of the car. Don't wait till it breaks down. Seek the help along the way. So don't wait until it's your last line of defense. So when should you go? One indication is, let's say the advice that you give, the advice that you received is not working as well. You know, you tried it, you implemented it, but it's not helping. You're still running into the same problem over and over again. So something's not right. So, you know, usually we think, oh, if you're crazy or if it's bad enough, that's when you seek help, right? Again, it's actually the opposite. Because what is the definition of insanity, right? You keep doing the same thing over and over again. You keep going to the same people with your problems. You keep implementing the same advice. So that's not what you want to do. So it's not crazy people who seek help. It's crazy people who don't seek help. So if you are seeking help, then that's an indication that you are not insane, that you're not crazy. So what are some indications? So I kind of sectioned it off into three different sections, if you will. So one, if you're saying, hey, you know, Dr. Haque, we like that idea of preventative care. We're going to listen to you. We want to have less heartache in our life. What should I look for though? You know, when do I go? If you've never been for therapy ever, then you need to go yesterday. Therapy will work for me. And I'm not saying this because I'm a professional and it'll increase my business. No, my goal is that you never have to come to me, right? That, you know, inshallah, that's my goal for the world. But it's always good, no matter what. If you want, you know, if you need that checkup, if you need the tune-up, if you need the oil change, or if you need the education, right? How can we go into something as big as something like a marriage that is, you know, almost the initial building blocks of all of society and all of community. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit more later. So you can go anytime. If you've bought my message about preventative care, this is what you do. So you don't even have to wait until you're in a relationship. Marriage therapy can start when you're an individual and you're not even thinking about marriage. That's actually the best time to go. So let's say, and of course, again, anytime is a good time, but what are some specific indicators? Growing up, let's say you've had a very difficult family relationship. You know, you don't have a good relationship with your mom. You don't have a good relationship with your father. There's a lot of strains. Maybe there's cutoff. Maybe people in your family don't speak to each other. Maybe there's some trauma. Maybe there's some abuse. Or maybe there's some emotional regulation problems, right? Like people tell you, for example, that's the best way to know, like ask your best friend, ask people like, hey, do you think there's some issues with me that I can work on? And they'll tell you. When it comes to thinking about our own issues, like towards ourselves, you know, we don't have that good vision. But when we have, when we think about other people's problems, our vision is 20/20. We're very good at picking out other people's problems. So ask your friends, ask your family, hey, do you think there's anything I can work on in therapy? They'll tell you, oh, you know, you get mad very quickly, you know, or you might throw a temper tantrum every now and then, or maybe you're just not feeling good, you're feeling off. That's a good time to go. Let's say you notice there's a pattern, right? You have difficulty in your friendships, you have difficulty with your coworkers, and it doesn't have to be huge difficulties, but you've noticed some things that don't feel right. So why is this important? Because how you are in your primary family, so we use the term family of origin in the family therapy field. So your family of origin is, you know, your mom, dad, your siblings. So let's say in this relationship, whatever issues you have, you will take those issues and those relationships into your marriage, guaranteed. This does not exclude anybody, even for us therapists. We know this. That's why when we go to graduate school, we write paper after paper after paper about our own relationships. So until we can work out these issues, expect that they will show up again in your marriage. So this is the first line of prevention. Second line of prevention, okay, let's say you've never been for therapy as an individual, or you have, premarital therapy, right? That's like that, you know, the prenatal checkups we were talking about. In premarital therapy, you learn about communication. This is the skill building. This is the education. Or if you've been in relationship with your partner for a while, then this is the opportunity to work some of those things out, some of the issues that may have come up. You learn about relational skills. You learn about expectations. I feel like so much of the heartache experienced in marriages can be addressed if you address the expectations, if you are on the same page. Like if your wife's expectations here and the husband's expectations are here, and you're constantly just missing or conflicting, that's gonna create a lot of friction in the marriage. So understanding what you're expecting in terms of my role, my contribution, you know, finances, all of these things. And then you learn more about yourself, you learn more about your partner. So not just the expectations, but also family history, managing finances, how they handle their emotions, very important things you learn about each other. And then finally, just talking about very practical things, you know, how do you expect to divide up the labor? You know, who's gonna do the cleaning, the laundry, who's gonna work, who's gonna take care of the children? Can we hire something? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with the in-laws living in the house? Are you okay with taking care of them when they're old? Are you okay? You know, so many of the different things that perhaps you did talk about, or perhaps it's difficult to talk about. So that's a good indication as well. You want to talk about something, but you don't know how to bring it up. Let the professional bring it up. It doesn't affect us either way, right? We can bring up hard topics, we can bring up easy topics. So what might be hard for you, you can take away that. You can be like, oh yeah, I'm glad she's talking about that, but you wouldn't have said it yourself. So you can bring it in, you can discuss it, you can be on the same page, and inshallah, it will prevent a lot of pain and heartache in the future. Therapy. So let's say you're already married, you didn't do the premarital therapy, or you did do the premarital therapy. I have a lot of premarital therapy clients who, after a few years of marriage, they come right back to me. No problem, right? You know, it's expected. Don't ever think that your mental health professional will say, why are you here? You don't have any problems. Nobody will ever say that. Or your problems aren't big enough. Get out of here. It'll be more so, thank you so much for coming. This makes it so much easier to deal with. And, you know, think about a festering wound, for example. If you get a cut, if you know, wash it off, clean it right away, put on the Band-Aid, it heals faster. There's no infection and you're fine. But if you leave that cut or you leave that wound and you don't clean it, you don't aid it, you don't heal it, right? It develops an infection. Now you leave the infection for a while. It festers. There's pus. It gets bigger. You know, you bring that to a doctor, unless they're a wound care specialist, they're going to say, you know, why did you wait so long? But the earlier you work on the issues, then the less complicated the treatment, the less painful the treatment, right? Keep that in mind too. The earlier on you address it, the less painful it's going to be. A lot of times with therapy, it hurts more in the beginning. Just like when you, this is a gross analogy, I'm sorry I went into it, just like you drain that pus, it hurts a lot, right? Before it gets better. Therapy can feel that way too. You know, you feel like you're falling apart, and then you start building it in the correct way so that it is functional, so that it's healthier. So let's say, and when it comes to preventative work in therapy, let's say you're happy, right? You have no problems, but you're like, you know what? I want to make sure I maintain this level of happiness. Go see a therapist. I want to make sure that I don't get into conflict. So I want to learn how to bring up my needs. I want to learn how to bring up my needs in a respectful way, because maybe I'm very shy and quiet, or maybe my needs were never listened to growing up. Maybe I had 6 brothers and sisters and I was always ignored and I was the youngest one, whatever it might be. I want to learn how to stand up for myself. I want to learn how to bring up my needs in a very respectful way, that I want to learn how to be heard, right? So you can bring that into therapy. Or let's say, I feel like there's something that might be going on. There's no trouble yet, but I see that there's a potential for trouble. Trust your instincts. Don't let that slide. If you think there's a problem, or you feel like there could be a problem that can be addressed, go ahead, please address it. Please seek therapy. So some more troubles. Let's say this is not the preventative work, but you're already experiencing trouble. So I said, number one, your mama's advice is no longer working, right? You've tried everything that your mom said, your dad said, your sister, cousin, brother, best friend, everything that everybody said to you, you're trying to implement it, but it's just not working anymore. So what are some of the troubles that might be happening? Let's say you have disagreements. Now, is disagreements a sign of therapy? Not necessarily. Can you go? Yes. Again, at any point you can go. But if you have disagreements, that's healthy. That's actually good. Disagreements are inevitable, but when they become unmanageable, you're disagreeing more than you're agreeing. You have more bad days than you have good days. You know, there's a lot of incompatibility. It's like, you know what, when we were talking, everything seems to line up, but I did not realize how incredibly different we are. You know, we come from the same village in the same country, but even then our family customs are different, or we come from different places. And I thought we figured it out, but the differences are getting to be too much. If there's high conflict, let's say there's lots of screaming, yelling, there's disrespect, that's when it's an issue. Disagreement, okay, it's always okay to disagree, but how do you address it? Are you screaming at each other? Are you yelling at each other? Or is it the opposite? Are you hitting a wall? Is there no talking? Are you avoiding each other? Are you stonewalling? That's what we refer to it as. Are you not talking to each other? That's also a problem. So you don't want to be in either extreme. You don't want to be yelling and screaming. You also don't want to be ignoring each other and not talking. You want to stay, you know, as in all things in Islam, you want that balance. You want to stay in the middle. Are you being sarcastic with each other? So maybe you're not being outwardly mean, but you're having these sly comments, these rude remarks here and there. That's a problem, right? Or if there's a feeling of disconnection, let's say there's no big issues, there's no fighting, there's no avoiding, but you don't feel connected anymore. You know, that's something that we can work on in therapy. We can talk about how you can build that connection again. Sometimes we get busy, right? I'm working 2 jobs, you know, we're busy with the kids, we're busy with the in-laws, we're busy with family, we're busy with the community, and you lost sight of your relationship. So we'll work on that too. That's a good reason to come for therapy. So let's say you can't pinpoint it anymore. You've been having problems for so long, you really don't know what the issue is, or we have a really, especially in our community, right? We say, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Just keep moving forward. Let's say you've been doing that for so long, you can't see any of the problems anymore. And that happens a lot, right? I don't know what's an issue. This is just normal. But so that's when you start listening to your heart. You start listening to your feelings. Like, okay, I'm unhappy. I don't know why. I'm angry. I'm stressed. I'm yelling at the children all the time. Yes, they're being naughty, but I'm not able to be patient with them anymore. Or you find yourself crying all the time and you're not sure why. Also, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't have good boundaries, you don't have good self-care, that's an indication something might be wrong. And so a lot of times you don't have to know what's wrong. When you go to therapy, you just tell them how you're feeling, and then you work with the professional to figure out what's wrong. Like I've sat so many times with my clients, just mapping out all of their stresses, all of what they're doing. And then when they look at it, they're like, huh, I never realized I had so much on my plate, or I never realized I was dealing with so much. And then let's say, you say, you know what, I've been listening to lectures and they say, be patient. Okay, I've been being patient. Alhamdulillah, I think patience is an excellent quality. I think that is necessary in any relationship. So when does patience become problematic? So let's say you've been patient for so long that not only is it hurting you, hurting your children, hurting the family, but you're starting to develop resentment. Now, if you have resentment, then that's being patient for too long without doing anything about it. Patience in combination with action, that's what's going to help you get through your life, right? But when you have patience and you're just sort of sitting back and say, Allah will take care of it, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen medically. It doesn't happen with your car, right? It doesn't happen with all the other analogies I gave you. If you're patient, but then you're saying, hey, I need to do something about this issue because now I'm starting to get resentful. I'm getting resentful in ways that doesn't allow me to behave well with my partner. It makes me sarcastic. It makes me disagree. I'm upset, I'm angry. So really looking out for that. And then my next one, I said, your dua is not being answered. Let's say you are making duas. Again, good stuff, right? Always make dua, please. I make dua for my clients all the time. But if you feel like, Allah's not listening to me or it's not being heard, what's going on? Well, think about what you can do, right? Allah is presenting you with the opportunity to go for therapy, but you're not taking it. So thinking about the action that you can take along with your patience and along with your duas. Now, let's say you find yourself, oh, it's not a problem. I just want to talk about it. I just want to vent. But you find that it's the only thing that you're talking about it. You're talking about it with your mom, with your dad, with your cousin, with your sister, and you're not talking about anything else. It's always on the top of your mind. You can't stop thinking about it. It's going around in circles. Then it's time to take a step back and think, okay, something might be wrong. Maybe I need to talk to a professional. Some more trouble. So I think these were sort of, not necessarily, I didn't want to put names to it because I don't want to say any issue is worse than the other, but these are some, I just labeled it some more troubles, right? What happens, actually, what might be surprising to you is what brings couples into therapy more often than anything else is not their problems. What brings couples into therapy is when they start having problems with their children, right? They say, my kid's having behavioral problems. They're being naughty, they're not listening, their grades are falling, they're having stomach pains, unexplainable, sleep disturbances, depending on how old they are, they're wetting the bed. We don't know what's going on. A lot of times we ask the couples, we're like, of course, we address the children's issues. A lot of time it can be just the child's issues, but they've done research on this too. We ask all the time, how is your relationship? Like, what do you mean? How is your relationship with your husband? And more often than not, there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of stress, there's not that harmony in the house. And so a lot of times that's how we get our couples to start working on their relationship. It may not have been enough problem for them to work on it as a couple, but when they see that their relationship dynamic is affecting their children, then that becomes a reason for them to start working on it. Sometimes even that's not enough, unfortunately. Disagreements in parenting, right? That can create not only trouble for the children, but of course, trouble in the marriage, right? You don't support me. When I say something to the child, you're not backing me up. The lack of loyalty, the lack of agreement. So if there's disagreement in parenting, come in for therapy. We'll help you out with that. Trouble with the in-laws. That is a very, very popular topic, unfortunately. Learning to place boundaries. Let's say whatever issues you're having with the in-laws, it's causing problems in the marriage. It's usually inevitable, unfortunately. And we don't say, we will never encourage you to do anything that you don't want to, of course. Always being respectful to every member in the family, trying to figure out ways that works out for everybody, every party that plays a part in the issue, right? So not just for the couple, but also for the in-laws, trying to figure out the best way to address it. Troubles in the bedroom, troubles with intimacy. Don't wait. Again, the troubles in your relationship, typically more often than not,
translates directly with trouble in the bedroom. So that's definitely a reason to come for couples therapy. And it's not, you know, anything inappropriate. Especially more experienced therapists can help you feel very safe, very just very calm and, you know, very professional. So I don't think it's anything to worry about. And of course, many of us do understand, you know, although it's something that we talk about all the time, it means not be something that you may be comfortable with. Maybe it was difficult for you to bring up. So we'll keep that in mind as well. And then disagreement over finances, right? That's a big one. You know, couples just can't agree on the financial matters. And so part of that is the educational aspect, right? How do you negotiate? How do you agree over things? Sometimes maybe there's a lack of understanding, or maybe there's just a matter of we never talked about it. And so we just started doing things in our marriage and we had expectations of each other, but it was never discussed. So sometimes it can be as simple as that. Sometimes it could be more complicated, but we'll help you figure it out. You don't have to do it on your own. And I think that's the most important part. Some even more troubles, right? If there is a presence of a mental illness, let's say your spouse or your partner is suffering from excessive amounts of depression, or even a little bit of depression, maybe there's some anxiety playing into the picture. Now, you don't have to diagnose this. You can just come into the office and say, something doesn't feel right. Doctor, can you help us out? And it's, yeah. And so we'll ask you about, what is it that doesn't feel right? Maybe if there was good times, what was the good times like? What's happening now? It's a lot of listening to your stories and trying to understand your world and then trying to figure out how we can help. So if there's, again, you don't have to diagnose the mental illness yourself. You don't have to look it up. But if there's some problem that just doesn't feel right, if there's a physical illness, for example, that's a whole different type of dynamic than quote unquote your normal couple dynamic, right? Let's say one partner is having to be the caretaker of another partner. You know, that's tough for both the partner who is experiencing the illness and the partner who's doing the caretaking. So learning about those types of dynamics, working on those types of dynamics, getting that professional help, again, just so it is smoother. Maybe it's not a problem per se. You don't mind doing it. You're happy to take care of your partner who has a physical illness or has a mental illness, but it's not about that. It's more about how can we make this an optimal environment for you? How can we prevent problems from happening? How can we make the process smooth? When there's trouble over infertility, right? There can be a lot of shame, a lot of disappointment. It can create a lot of trouble between the couples, if not necessarily anger, like, you know, one partner saying to the other, it's because of you that we can't have children. That may be the case, but not always. There's also, you know, my wife is going through a hard time or my husband is going through a hard time. How can I be supportive? You know, teach us how to be there for each other, teach us how to connect with each other. Grief, if there's any losses that you've experienced in the couple relationship, right? If there's any, sorry, I'm just looking at my time. I tend to ramble on. So if you can keep me time as well, that would be helpful. If you've lost a partner, if you've lost a parent, if you've lost, you know, a sibling, if there's been any types of losses, if you lost a job, if you've lost your dreams, you know, those are all reasons to come in for therapy because they affect every part of your life. Life cycle phase issues, let's say you're taking care of your children and your elderly parents. And so there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of need for boundaries and discussions and help and support. Or the opposite end, if you're empty nesting, let's say you've had a house full of people and a house full of children and adults and whatnot, and all of a sudden everybody's leaving. They're going off to college or they're getting married and now you're stuck with each other and you haven't had a decent conversation in 20 years. How to handle that transition. Some bigger issues, right? If there's any abuse, of course, do not hesitate. If there's any fear, if you've noticed that your partner is feeling more controlling than you're comfortable with. If there's any infidelity, if there's any types of betrayal. Now, betrayal doesn't necessarily have to be just infidelity, which may or may not be physical betrayal or physical sexual activities outside of the marriage bound. But if there's emotional infidelity, if there, you know, infidelity, you know, what we talk about in the research today is how you define it, you know, for your partner, if doing, you know, XYZ is considered infidelity to them, then that's what it is, right? Addiction. Addiction can tear apart families, can tear apart marriages. Pornography is under the bridge of the addiction. If any types of those issues are going on, again, do not wait. I know these issues are harder. They're harder to bring up. There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of stigma behind this. Nobody wants to talk about it, but the more you don't talk about it, the worse it gets. And this is what we're trained to do. You know, so I do the training as well. I have a class on addiction and substance abuse. I send my students, I say, go sit in an AA meeting, you know, think about your own addictions in your life. I make them give up something, right? I say for the entire semester, give up chocolate, give up Coke, give up smoking, whatever, give up something and see how hard it is. So you have that empathy for whoever it is going through something, right? We never look down on any of our clients. As a matter of fact, we think, you know, we have a lot of awe for them, a lot of, you know, just understanding that we know how hard this is for you, how hard this has been for you, and the fact that you've come to me to talk to me about it. Thank you for trusting me, and congratulations for having the courage to work on this. So keeping that in mind as well. I think I am hitting close to my end, but I'm going to go through these real quick then. So what are the types of relationship therapy? Again, there's the premarital therapy, and we talked a little about it earlier. You don't have to do it. Just a lot of times I think, well, let me get engaged first, and then we'll go to premarital therapy. Again, you can go as an individual. You can go when you're dating. You can go when you're engaged. So that's okay too. There's marital therapy, what I think people are most familiar with. And then there's discernment therapy. Discernment therapy is, let's say you're in a position in your marriage. You don't know if you want to stay, you don't know if you want to go. You need help deciding that. That's discernment therapy. We'll sit there, we'll help talk to you, figure out what you want to do. And once you've decided you want to divorce, then there's divorce therapy. Or once you've decided, no, I want couples therapy to help me work on this relationship, then you move on to marital therapy. And finally, there's also step family therapy. There's so many families breaking apart and regrouping again. It's an entirely very unique set of issues that people don't realize they need to have. For example, common mistake. They say in step family therapy, work on the parent bond first and the children will just listen and everything will fall into place. Nope. In a step family constellation, you work on your relationship with the children first. And if you work on your new relationship together, you don't do that in front of them, not at least for 2 years. They say a step family to start running smoothly, getting adapted and adjusted to each other takes anywhere from 2 to 7 years, depending on the circumstances. How to get help, how to find help. So finding a therapist, I would say your best bet is ask your friends, right? If they've been to therapy before, say, hey, who did you go to? Did you like them? That's really important. Now, if your friends don't want to talk about it, they want to keep it private, ask your Sheikh, Imam, community leader. There's been so many wonderful programs that are, like I taught at I think it's the Soba seminary, where I taught sort of basic crisis mental health counseling skills. And so providing them with resources and references for guiding community members to seeking the appropriate type of help. And then there's also numerous Muslim therapist directories, and I can forward my slides. I don't mind sharing them to, to the organizers of this program, and I would be okay if they shared it with you guys or put it on an email list or whatever. And then if you want a non-Muslim therapist, let's say you're not comfortable with a Muslim therapist, you want somebody who's really, really far outside of the community, there's Psychology Today profiles that you can go to. You can just Google Psychology Today, and then there will be lists and lists of different types of professionals. You can read about them and you can see which one feels right. Now you have to think about the delivery, right? This day and age, just like we're doing a Zoom meeting, we do a lot of online therapy. So do you want in-person or do you want online therapy? Some people are still doing in-person therapy, so that's not an issue. And note also that a lot of people who provide in-person therapy also do online therapy. So it doesn't have to be separate entities. So online therapy, some 2 rules to really keep in mind. If you live, whatever state you live in, so I'm going to go with Texas. So if you live in the state of Texas, you can get therapy from any therapist in the state of Texas. So if you want a therapist from Dallas, from San Antonio, from Austin, from El Paso, you can go to that therapist. They can see you. So just very similar to like medical licenses, we are licensed within our state. So if you want to see a therapist in New York, for example, you can. I think some people do, but know that this is outside of the bounds of our license and that we can get our licenses taken away for that. And also some people aren't licensed. I would recommend going to a licensed professional, because if we're licensed, it's not really for us, it's really for you as the client. You can, if something happens, God forbid, you can complain to the board. If you're licensed, that means I have to keep up my education. I have to continue my education. So it's really better for the client to seek a licensed professional. And but there are some licensed professionals who can practice out of state. For example, I have clients in Florida because the state of Florida has allowed licensed professionals to become a registered practitioner, and then you can see clients in their state. So ask them, be like, are you licensed to work in any other state? Then they may be able to as well. So keeping that in mind, right? You want a licensed professional, you want to make sure things are ethical and legal. It'll help you in the long run. There's different types of therapy. There's group therapy where you have multiple people and you're all talking about your problems together. There's individual therapy. You know, if you want to talk about your marriage, but your husband doesn't want to go, or you want to talk about your marriage and your wife doesn't want to go by yourself. Can it make a difference? Absolutely. And of course, there's couples therapy, husband and wife. That I feel like that's ideal. If it can't happen, it can't happen. But if you can go together as a couple, go together as a couple. So a lot of times I find that people feel overwhelmed and a little confused because there are lots of different types of professionals. You have your therapist, your social workers, your psychologists, your psychiatrists, and I threw in there your addictions counselor. So so just again, really quickly, I think when you think of therapy, what you think of is, you know, therapists and counselors, marriage and family therapists. That is my licensure by trade. And then there's also licensed professional counselors. So over here you see, I don't know, can you guys see my mouse? The LMFT, it stands for Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist. What do they focus on? They focus on individual, couples, relationships, parenting, everything. Can we see individuals? Yes. Do we only do marriage and family? No, we do just about everything, but our focus is more systemic. We ask about how are your relationships impacting your depression? How was your work? How was the society? How was the politics? You know, we think about all of the different layers of your life that's impacting what you're doing. A licensed professional counselor, they're pretty much similar in terms of private practice and in therapy, but they focus more on the individual. Social workers, they can also do private practice therapy. They typically you'll find them in hospitals and organizations. And if you need more sort of case management things like, you know, I'm taking care of my disabled mother or my disabled spouse, I need resources, I need help. Social workers are definitely the ones to go to. They have all kinds of resources. They're excellent at it. Psychologists, they do a lot of diagnosing, a little behavioral training. School psychologists, let's say there's something you suspect that your child might be on the spectrum. Maybe they have autism, but I don't know how to figure it out. I would say go to a school psychologist, go to a clinical psychologist. They'll do the testing to help you get that diagnosis. Psychiatrists, if you want medication, if you need medication, let's say you've been for therapy and the therapist said I would recommend medication, you can go to the psychiatrist. They'll help you out with that. They have the MD. These are the only guys who have the MD. Psychologists typically have PhDs, social workers. So I do have a PhD, but for therapists and counselors, you don't need a PhD, but the PhD helped me in general. And also PhDs are people who want to do research. So it helps them out with that. They have a little bit more knowledge in terms of research, and perhaps they wanted to be a professor and work in academia. That's why they get it. And then finally, your addictions counselor. Let's say you're specifically dealing with addiction, pornography, alcohol, drugs, heroin, whatever it might be, and you need help trying to overcome, or even a sex addiction or eating addiction. If you need help overcoming those things, then you go to an LCDC, which stands for Licensed Chemical Dependency Counselor. Now, the other good thing, of course, I mean, obviously I'm very biased towards marriage and family therapists because that is my profession and that's what I teach as well. But we're very collaborative in nature. I have psychiatrist's number. I have addiction counselor number in my phone book, and I talk to them regularly. And if I feel like there's something that I need help with for the betterment of my client, of course, with the permission of my client, I interact with them all the time. Marital therapies, again, if you specifically want therapy for your marriage, my recommendation is to go to a marriage and family therapist because a large portion of our training does deal with couples therapy. My second recommendation, if you seek another type of mental health professional, so maybe a counselor or a social worker or a psychologist, if they have LMFT credentials along with their other credentials, I would say that would be your second best line of defense. What to look for. So when I find a therapist, you know, I see You know, I go to Psychology Today, or I go to the Muslim mental health directories, and now I have hundreds and hundreds of options. How do I know who's the right one for me? So there's a different options for you depending on time, depending on resources, how much money, how much expendable income you have to spend on therapy. You can see an associate. So typically when you see LMFT-A, that means they're an associate, which means they're like internship, they're still getting their hours. They've completed their education, they've passed the exam. Now they're just getting their hours that are required in order to fulfill the licensure requirements. And for LPC, for counselors, you'll see an I, which stands for intern. So there's LMFT associate, LMFT intern. They're cheaper, right? They cost less, but they might be great. You know, I always say you get what you paid for, but not necessarily. A lot of times you have fantastic students who have great life experiences as well, and they can be a great fit for you. So don't not consider them because you're like, oh, I don't want just an intern, I want a fully licensed, because I think you can have great experiences with interns and associates as well. And a lot of them are, so as an associate or intern, you have to be supervised. So every time before they're meeting with you, they're talking to their supervisor and they're asking their supervisor how they can help. So really you're getting 2 therapists for the price of 1. So it's not a bad deal. A fully licensed professional, an LMFT or an LMFTS, if you notice the S behind my name, it's because I'm a supervisor. So you have to do some extra training for that. I train the LMFTAs. If you're a fully licensed professional, they tend to be more expensive, but they also have more experience. So depending what your circumstances are, you know, what's a good fit for you, that's how you choose. Look for specialty training. Let's say there is trauma, there is, you know, maybe there's grief, whatever, you know, some of those things that I pointed out earlier. Look at their training, look at the trainings that they go to. Sometimes they're specialized in addition to couples therapy. Education could be important too, well, if it's important for you. Finally, personality fit. Like if you want someone who's very serious and that's what helps you feel like I'm getting the help I need, find someone who's more serious. If you want somebody who's more relaxed because you feel very intimidated by somebody who's more sort of serious, then find somebody who fits that characteristic, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're comfortable because you're talking about very, very personal things. And if you don't feel safe, or if you just don't like the person, no matter how much credentials they have, then it's not going to be a good experience for you. So make sure you have the, you know, the younger ones, right? I don't understand this language, but they say, oh, you've got a good vibe. Thank you. And I'm like, okay, whatever that means, that's great. Thank you. And so you want that, you want the right vibe, right? And then finally, culture and religion. Is it important to go to a therapist who's Muslim? Yes and no. Yes, if they're your same culture, if they're your same religion, you don't have to spend time explaining a lot of things, right? You know, sometimes they can say, oh, you know, the aunties, and I'll say, yeah, the aunties. Like, I know what that means. They don't have to explain it to me. And they like that, right? Other times I had one young woman, she wanted to take off her hijab. She was struggling a lot, but she was afraid to tell me because she said, you know, you wear hijab. I didn't want you to judge me. But because of the relationship we had, she was able to tell me that. We were able to talk about it. And then she was able to actually go into her struggles more. So sometimes it could be good, sometimes it could be not good. At the end of the day, if you have an open understanding, if they're very open, if they're very accepting, if you feel comfortable with them, then it won't matter too much, I think. So again, personal preferences. And also know that you're not, well, make sure you read the contract well. In my practice specifically, I don't contract for multiple. You pay each session as you go. So if at any point you want to leave, you can go, you know, just like the phone plans, no more contracts. If you're comfortable, you stay. If you're not comfortable, you leave. And you can always find another therapist. And I encourage you to do that. You know, don't go therapy shopping. Like if you're not getting the right answer, just like you don't go imam shopping, don't go Sheikh shopping, don't do that. But if you feel like it's not a right fit, you don't like the personality, you're not getting the help you need, then, you know, by all means, you can leave and find another therapist. Some notes that I wanted to give in terms of, you know, the pandemic. There have been, because of the isolation, because of the quarantining, a lot of therapists are full. There are some wait lists, but don't let that discourage you. Get on the wait list. The opening will come faster than you think. So don't be discouraged, get on the wait list and just get started. You know, half the battle is just getting started. So just get started. And again, you can always get another therapist if it doesn't work out for you. How to make help getting easier. Oh, yes. Do I need to stop?
Yeah, you only got 2 more minutes left.
2 more minutes. Thank you so much. Okay, so taking the shame out, right? There's so much shame around therapy and mental health and private issues. But you know what? We all need help. We all need it. If someone acts like they don't, they're pretending. You know, even Therapists see therapists. Yes, I have my own therapist. You know, I seek the counseling therapist. Do I do a lot of my own therapy to my own self? Yes, I do. But at the end of the day, you need a therapist, and it's okay. And seeking help outside of the family, making that not a point of shame. Community leaders out there, encourage your community to seek help. Have more events like this. This is fantastic. Talk about your own therapy and how much it helped. If you've gone for therapy before, you know, you don't have to talk about your business, of course, but you can say, hey, it really helped me, and I feel like it can help you. Let's not make it a big deal. You know, when your car needs to get fixed, you go to a mechanic. It's not a big deal. When you break your arm, you go to a doctor. It's not a big deal. When you have relationship troubles, you go to an MFT. Not a big deal. Now, what is the importance? This is the last thing I wanted to tell you about. You know, you can say, you know what? Yes, I have problems, Sister Afshana, I hear you, but I'm just going to be patient and inshallah, it'll pass. So the problem is you do have a responsibility to yourself. You know, your mental health and your well-being is an amanah from Allah. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, you know, you're not being a good Muslim. And you have responsibility towards your children. Your issues in your relationship will subconsciously pass down to your children. So if you are in an abusive relationship and you're saying, you know what, I'm staying together for the children, guess what? You're teaching your daughters, if you're a woman, that it's okay to be with a man who abuses you. And she is going to be with a man. She will say, I swear by Allah, I will never be with a man like my father because I saw the way he treated you. Somehow she ends up with a man just like that. It happens subconsciously. So if you're not fixing your relationship, if you're not fixing your marriage, you're essentially handicapping your children. You're not giving them a strong leg to stand when they're having their own problems in their relationship. Finally, you can't just pray it away. We talked about this before. Allah is providing you with the tools to get help, right? You would be neglectful if you didn't embrace it. You know, if you had antibiotics, you wouldn't let your infection fester, right? You would get the help that you need so that it could be painless or less painful, and so that you can be successful and more smooth. And with that, I'll end and turn it over to Hafsa.
Okay, thank you very much, Jazakumullah khairan, Dr. Haque, for that informative section. We really appreciate you, and we appreciate your word of knowledge. Now we will go ahead. I have gotten some questions, and
sure.
I must say that not all questions is going to be answered because you are only limited by time. So, but I will ask a few of the questions that I've got. So if your questions don't get asked, know that it's not an oversight. It's just because we don't have enough time to address the issues. And I must say that not everything will be addressed here. This is just an eye-opener. This session is just an eye-opener because I got some questions that, you know. So first and foremost, somebody wants to know if can a couple still go for therapies even though their marriage is like 20 years and just recently or before it's not that clear, they're just having problem, they just can't seem to be getting along after 20 years. So
yes, absolutely. Just like I mentioned before, you can go to therapy before your marriage, in the beginning of your marriage, in the middle, at the end. Different life circumstances will create different conflicts, right? Depending on what's happening in your life or what's happening with your relationship or the lack of relationship, right? Like I mentioned earlier, maybe you were just busy with life. Maybe your relationship sort of fell apart or you grew apart. You can work on that. You know, there's, you know, I have clients from age 9 to age 65. So there is never a point where I would say it's too late. Don't worry about it. You know, it's never too late. You can always go for therapy.
Okay, thank you. So another question here is, what advice can be effective for couples transitioning into polygamy?
Into polygamy, a lot of boundaries, right? A lot of managing expectations.
Do you see a lot of that?
I do not.
Practice?
I don't see a lot of it. Yeah, I don't see a lot of it. But I can give you some advice on it. If the couples are not on the same page in terms of what they expect, that will create more problems, right? So make sure you're very open. If it's caused some conflict, maybe emotional conflict, sort that out, you know. Make sure you have acceptance, of course, you know, whatever is going on. I've seen not in my practice, but I've seen relationships where there is polygamy involved, where things work out great, right? You know, one of the wives pick up all the kids from school and the other wife is cooking dinner every night, and it's actually fantastic. There are other relationships where there's not the open communication, there's not the open expectations, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain, and they don't create a good system. And so being prepared, just like with premarital therapy, being prepared, understanding your boundaries, your rights, all of those things will be very important as you move into the relationship.
Okay, so some people, they love your career so much, or the way you talk and present so much that they want to know how to start a career in this field.
Oh, that's fantastic. Go ahead, sorry.
So yeah, and then, you know, some people, your email and your contact address, we would love to have that. And I would also like to ask if we can have the presentation slide for this session, for what you've just given us. They wanted to, like, you know, it is, you know, at times you don't assimilate everything, but when you go back and I know we are recording this, and that can be done, and if you can pass it on, it will be nice. So if you'll we'll be happy to hear how to start on this career as a field, on this career field.
So in terms of the career, my own career path was, I received a psychology, I just posted my slides in the chat, as well as my email address. It's uploading right now, so you may not see it. So I got a psychology bachelor's degree from U of H, Maine. And then I also had a biology minor for no reason. You don't need one. You just need a psychology degree. Some people also have teaching degrees. Let's say you've already finished your bachelor's degree and you want to still pursue a master's and become a therapist. You can do that as well. There were some teachers in my class, or people from other fields. You just have to meet some of the prerequisites, and it might take you a little bit longer, but it's certainly possible. So for my own journey, I was a psychology major, and then I did my master's over at U of H Clear Lake, where I'm teaching currently. But full disclosure, I'm not going to teach there anymore. So at U of H Clear Lake is where I got my master's. And after you receive a master's, you then you do your internship, you take the exam, it's a national exam, and then you do your hours. But even before you complete your hours, once you pass the exam, you can open up a private practice as long as you have a supervisor, and you can pay like an external supervisor. So then you work on your hours, and then once you're fully licensure, you just move on. You don't need a supervisor anymore. And then every 2 years, you get your CEUs. So that's how you would become a marital therapist. If you are interested in academia, if you are interested in doing research, like you're very curious about why certain things happen and how it happens, then I went on to, so when I started, at the time I graduated in 2007, there was not a lot of research on Muslims. There was not a lot of therapists who were Muslims, for that matter. But now, mashallah, there's a lot of, like, you know, there's research organizations, there's the family life, family youth, I forgot what they were called, but I can give y'all access to that. They're based in Stanford. There's so much good work out there. So if you want to join that, I then pursued my PhD at St. Mary's University in San Antonio. And then, then after that, I started professoring. And so again, I have my private practice, and it is very rewarding, never boring, you know, so it is a great career, alhamdulillah. And some people are worried, oh, what if it clashes with Islam? But, you know, alhamdulillah, I found that it's helped me in my Islam. You know, I see, oh, this is why Allah asked us to do this, because now there's, you know, this is what they're saying, and it makes so much sense. So I've never really been in a position where I had to question my iman or my deen or anything. I mean, alhamdulillah, it's actually worked the opposite for me. It's helped me become closer. And I make dua all the time for my clients and for myself and for the ummah. And so it's a really great experience. It's a very beautiful, very rewarding career to go into, and our community needs it. We definitely have a lot more than when I started. I think when I started, there was just 2 of us, but mashallah, there's so many, and we need more. So especially men, there's not a lot of male therapists, so we need that. You know, sometimes men just want to talk to another man. So inshallah,
like sister, there are lots of questions, but as I said, time will not permit us. But one last question: Can a couple, one last question that I just gave, that can a couple watch pornography together just to enhance their sexual life? Have you ever seen such in your career? And also, have you ever given an advice that people, even though they follow it, they said it's not working? Like only one parent is interested in.
Okay, so when it comes to pornography, I know this is an issue that ties closely with religion. So now I know Islamically, can we use like other things to enhance sexual pleasure, like sexual toys and stuff? From my understanding, you can, as long as you are with your partner, just not by yourself. And that's okay. But pornography is actually very different. Different people have different opinions on it. Now, I would, of course, encourage you to talk to your Sheikh or Imam as well. My understanding, if you want to hear, pornography can actually, I mean, this is not just Islamically, this is also secular research. It can actually cause problems in your sexual relationship, because what happens is it can be very addictive, and it can, it's very demeaning, especially towards women, and it incorporates a lot of violence, and those things are not good for a healthy relationship. And let's say you're, if you are used to, so with the reward circuitry, and you know, I'm sure medical professionals have to tell you about this as well, but the reward circuitry in your brain, it works as such that if you have a high level of stimulus, then normal things don't work anymore. So if you're used to being excited because of pornography, then normal, regular, whatever that means, regular sex will not be satisfactory for you anymore, and you won't come to orgasm. So it can be very problematic in that sense, where you're not going to enjoy sex with your partner anymore unless there's this higher level of stimulus. And then there is a higher tendency to have the addiction, because sometimes it can be more easily accessible. Like, let's say your partner doesn't want to have sex, and you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to look at porn. And then that could over time, again, lead to addiction, and then lead to problem in the marriages. I know some couples do use porn to enhance pleasure, but I think that there might be some issues with that Islamically, but again, that's between you and your Sheikh. For some people, they do use it and they're just fine. So again, there's a wide variety of answers, whatever works best for the couple.
Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullah khairan. We've come to the end of this session, but before we do, I will ask Dr. Ibrahim, Dr. Abdurrashid to, it's so weird calling him Dr. Ibrahim, Dr. Abdurrashid, to appreciate our guest speaker with a dua. So over to you, Dr. Abdurrashid. Thank you very much, sister.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah, Jazakillah khairan, Dr. Afshana. We really enjoyed the session. We know for those of you that I've known you for a while, I think about 5 or 6 years ago, we brought you to our community to present to us in the hall. And having you around again is always refreshing. We've really gained tremendously from this presentation. Of course, we know time is not on our side. We would have loved, to have you present other, examples and live instances for people to really gain more. But it's good that you really share your contact with us, and we pray to Almighty Allah to continue to be with you, to guide in your practice, to be with your household. And we also pray to ourselves for this little you've shared with us. May Almighty Allah give us better understanding of it and make it easy for us to inculcate it into our daily lives. Ameen. ربنا أبلنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين وجعلنا المتقين إماما ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع الدعاء وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك تواب رحيم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم جزاك الله خير.
So over to you, Baba Bayo. Brother Abu Jalil, over to you.
Yes, yes, I just made him to be a co-host now. Baba Abdullah, if you can unmute yourself.
Yes, I did.
Yes, yes, sir. We can hear you now.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. وعليكم
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
When Dr. When Alpha Ibrahim approached me to moderate this program, I said, "Oh, what are the other Alphas doing? This is a program for the Alphas. Me who doesn't even go to the Arabic school, you are telling me to moderate this program." But he insisted that he's going to throw the responsibility on my shoulders. Anyway, I said, okay, voila, I will do whatever the little I know about handling programs. And then with that, and again, the person I'm supposed to moderate, I should even go to his Arabic lecture, whatever it is, and then obtain more knowledge. But that notwithstanding, he insisted, and I've taken it up. Allah will help us. To start this section of the program, I will call on the person who is going to give us the Quranic recitation. He's a granddaughter. Let's say my granddaughter. Let me put it that way. He's Hafiza, very clever, very sharp, and I pray that Almighty Allah will make her the comfort and the joy of everyone. And that is Sister Iman Adediro. She's, like I said, she's young. You can see her. And I believe everyone will enjoy her beautiful voice. So, Bismillah. Iman, go ahead.
You can unmute yourself, Iman.
Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm going to be reading from Surah Baqarah, ayah 226 to 222 to 226. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويسألونك عن المحيض قل هو أذى فاعتزلوا النساء في المحيض ولا تقربوهن حتى يطهرن فإذا تطهرن فأتوهن من حيث أمركم الله إن الله يحب التوابين ويحب المتطهرين نساؤكم حرث لكم فأتوا حرثكم أنى شئتم وقدموا لأنفسكم واتقوا الله واعلموا أنكم ملاقوه وبشر المؤمنين ولا تجعلوا الله عرضة لأيمانكم أن تبروا وتتقوا وتصلحوا بين الناس والله سميع عليم لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو في أيمانكم ولكن يؤاخذكم بما كسبت قلوبكم والله غفور حليم للذين يؤلون من نسائهم تربص 4 أشهر فإن فاءوا فإن الله غفور رحيم.
Thank you very much, Iman. Like I said earlier, that I didn't go.
Sir, he will be doing the English translation, sir.
Yeah, okay, very good. Okay.
They ask you concerning menstruation. Say that is an adha, therefore keep away from women doing menses and go not unto them until they are purified. And when they have purified themselves, then go in unto them as Allah has ordained for you. Truly, Allah loves those who turn unto Him in repentance and loves those who purify themselves. Your wives are a tilth for you, so go to your tilth, when or how you will, and send for your own selves beforehand. And fear Allah, and know that you are to meet Him, and give good tidings to the believers, O Muhammad. And make not Allah's name an excuse in your oaths against your doing good and acting piously, and making peace among mankind. and Allah is all-hearer, all-knower. Allah will not call on you to account for that which is unintentional in your oaths, but He will call you to account for that which your hearts have earned. And Allah is oft forgiving, most forbearing. Those who take an oath not to have sexual relations with their wives must wait 4 months. Then, if they return, verily Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. Sadaqallah Alazim.
Yeah, thank you very much, Iman. You will realize that when I interjected, I know that she doesn't pick up any verse of the Quran and start reading without making sure that it's relevant to what is being discussed. So thank you very much for meeting my expectations. Then may Allah make it easy for you to progress and realize your dreams in life. Amen. The person that is going to handle this section, make the delivery of the make presentation, is a well-known person, and he is whoever has been very, constant attending our annual, I would call it pilgrimage, Islamic pilgrimage in America. When we gather all the Muslims, particularly Nigerian Muslims, including some other nationals, as the platform. The person wouldn't be new to them, but for the benefit of those who doesn't participate, Dr. Mosadiq Laiyemo is an associate professor of medicine. But I want to, if I start talking about all the credentials, we won't leave here today. But the one thing that I want people to know is this. The first time I witnessed his presentation in platform, I was amazed the way he can hold you for the whole of the day if you are not careful. Because the way he presents, he will make sure that everybody is relaxed, you will laugh, you will do, and eventually he will pick up from where he stopped, and then, even though that's a little digression, but he will bring you back again, and then you remain focused. So he's very good at doing that, and I know by the time he's done with his presentation, you will know that what I've said is typical of him. I'm happy to introduce to you Dr. Adeyinka Laiyemo, a professor of associate medicine, who is going to talk about marital discord and Islamic resolution. So Dr. Laiyemo, the floor is yours.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the glorious, the most merciful. And we are thankful to Almighty Allah who has guided us to the path of Islam. We pray that Allah continues to guide us to the last beatings of our hearts, and let us be among those that will be united in Jannah Firdaus. It's indeed a great pleasure to be invited to be part of this wonderful program. And I want to thank our father for the kind introduction and the organizers for inviting me. I've been in and out in the participation. So, because I also wanted to listen to the other speakers, because let's face it, they've already pretty much told us everything there is about this topic. So I'm not sure there's anything I'm going to be telling you that's going to be new from what the other speakers, mashallah, they have shared with us. But nonetheless, inshallah, I'll probably just breeze through my slides so that we can have more time for engagement about these very important issues, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of us our shortcomings. So in full disclosure, only Allah is perfect. And this is important for us to understand right from the get-go. So there are many things I probably will tell you that will be challenging for us. And that will include me and you, and maybe even generations yet unborn, because we are human. And so if you are human, it means you are not going to be perfect. So only Allah is perfect. Now, we know from the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the basis for why we're actually here in terms of this conversation. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. That of his signs, that is the signs of Allah, is that he has created for you from yourselves made so that you can find tranquility in them. And indeed, Allah has placed between you affection and mercy, love and mercy. And indeed, these are signs for those who reflect. So we pray to Almighty Allah to be among the people who give thought, those who reflect, so that we can appreciate that we really need that love and mercy to actually be able to find tranquility in ourselves. So that if there is no love, there's no tranquility, there's no affection, and if you are not showing mercy to your partner, then nothing good is going to come out of the relationship. It's going to be more challenging. Now, in the end, what we want to accomplish is the fulfillment of this dua, which is what we call the Furqanic Robana. That is in Surah Al-Furqan, chapter 25, verse 74, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was describing the attributes of the Ibadur Rahman, that is the servants of Allah. And Allah said they are the ones who walk on the earth in humility, and so on and so forth. And then Allah got to this part, and then he mentioned to us that, and those who say, Rabbana habalana min azwajina wa dhurriyyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. That those who say, our Lord, grant us from among our wives and offspring comfort, grant us comfort from our wives and our children, and make them comforting to our eyes, and make us leaders among the righteous. See, so this is a dua of aspiration for all of us. This is our target. Now, so the question is, why do we have challenges in our marriages? Why do we have challenges in our marriages? I don't know the answer, and I hope you are not disappointed. But the truth is out there. So for those of us who are the fans of the X-Files in the olden days, you know the truth is out there. But actually, the bigger question is not in terms of whether we will have challenges. We will have challenges, but how come we can't resolve them? For that one, the truth is not out there. The truth is right with us. Because some of the reasons why we couldn't resolve them is us. So that sometimes you just want to blow away. You know, you want to yell, you want to shout, because there is so much problems going on among us. A lot of time is from us. It's truly from us. While preparing for this talk, I asked myself a question, which actually I've never asked myself before. And that is reflecting back at the first couple. The first couple. And we know the first couple will be Adam and Eve, our forefather, foremother, if there's such a terminology. But then I said they also had their own challenges. They had problems. And of course, the number one problem they had was they ate the forbidden tree. At least that's what we knew. We don't know if they were everything was all dandy in paradise before Shaitan convinced them to eat of the forbidden tree, telling them to chase things that that's a lie. Because Allah told them not to eat of the forbidden tree. That's the only restriction they had that we know. And Shaitan went to them and convinced them that, can I show you, okay, can I show you a tree of eternity and a kingdom that never ends? Playing on something that they love, they want to have. And of course they fell because they ended up disobeying Allah. Now I asked myself, and that's why I said this is a question I've really not actually asked myself before. And that's why I put it, because I don't know the answer to the question. And of course, I'm willing to learn from anybody that will teach me this. So I said, well, if that was happening to us, Immediately after it became obvious to them that they sinned, I mean, the husband and wife, they will start fighting immediately. It's your fault. It's that your fault. It's your fault. So so I asked myself, I kind of magically transported myself to, the scenario, and I'm asking myself, I wonder what happened as soon as they both realized they messed up. So was Adam going to Eve and saying, it's your fault? Or was Eve saying, it's your fault? And they are both going back and forth. Why didn't you stop me? Why did you do this? Why? But then I said, did they end up settling it themselves? Because I'm pretty sure, like I put it on the slide, Iblis will never be the one that solved the problem for them. There's no way. That one, I don't even need to go look for the Quran to find the answer to that one. Even I can testify to that, even though I wasn't there, that there is no way Shaitan will be the one that now came, okay, guys, stop fighting. No way. Shaitan is probably going to take a seat and be watching them if they were fighting. So if our mother, Hawa, and our father, Adam, if they were fighting, Shaitan, I mean, they don't have children at this point. So Shaitan is probably going to find a nice seat and sit down and be watching them fight and enjoying the show. So we know they must have settled it somehow. I can imagine maybe Angel Jibril will pass by and tell them stop fighting. I doubt it. He probably will say that's none of my business. Allah didn't authorize me to go and mediate among them, And of course, we know what then happened was they turned to Allah in repentance. They turned to Allah to ask Allah for forgiveness. They turned to Allah and Allah forgave them. They still were ejected from Jannah, but at least they turned to Allah for forgiveness. So the point is, we are quite sure that they reach out to each other. Because if they didn't reach out to each other and they are staying in their corners, we would never have been born, right? We will never be born. And in which case we will not be existing at all. So if we take a step back, well, multiple steps back, and we ended up back to where Adam and Eve were, they will have figured out somehow to resolve their differences themselves. But we know they started by asking Allah for forgiveness. Maybe that's really where we also need to start from. We start by connecting back to the one who created us. We start by going back to Allah. Because Allah is the source of all goodness. Allah is the one who created us. He's the one who He knows everything about us. He knows what is going to happen in the future. He created us, so He knew us well. Is Allah not aware of what He has created? Of course, Allah knows us. So maybe when we are thinking in terms of our challenges, maybe the first thing we need to do is to connect back to Allah. You should return back to Allah. Make that connection back to Allah. So anyway, coming back to the issue at hand. So what exactly then can we say are some of the challenges that we'll be having? So is it that we sometimes have unrealistic expectations? So just listen to this. So when we're not married, she was wonderful. She was, of course, steaming hot. And she was nice, polite. She was everything a man would want in a wife. But now, and her response was, when he was courting me, it was fantastic. In fact, I tell you, he put the G in gentleman. He was caring, loving, but now. So the question is, what changed? Who changed? And why did the person change? Is it the circumstance that changed, or the people are the one that changed based on the circumstances that they found themselves? Sometimes some of these questions are what will help us find the solutions to what the issues really are. But then you go back to why exactly did you choose her? Is it because she's pretty, she's hot, she's the paragon of beauty, the SI unit of modesty? Seeing her turns me on like a television set, whatever is the appellations you want to use for why you develop goosebumps every time you see her. Of course, also, maybe she's wealthy, she is professional, she has a wonderful family background, or because of green card, or something else that who knows. And then, of course, maybe you chose him because he's handsome, muscular, charming, wealthy also, professional guy, nice family background. or maybe green card or anything else. But is it because you are also looking for children, or you need companionship? You don't want to be lonely at the end, or you're looking for a human ATM machine. You want somebody to take care of your children, of your offspring. Or it's because of status and respect. Because you gain some status, so have more respect if you are married and stuff like that. Or is it because you need somebody you want to be annoying on a regular basis? Whatever is the reason, that may or may not be the reason why you got married. The key why we should get married to anybody in the first place is because we want to end up in Jannah. Because we know for us it's not life of this world until death do us part. It is we want to end up in Jannah together. That is the goal. And we know from Surah Tur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَاتَّبَعَتْهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتُهُم بِالْإِيمَانِ بِإِيمَانٍ أَلْحَقْنَا بِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَمَا أَلَتْنَاهُم مِّنْ عَمَلِهِم مِّن شَيْءٍ كُلُّ امْرِئٍ بِمَا كَسَبَ رَهِينٌ. That those who believe and whose descendants, whose offsprings, and derivatively their family, follow them in faith, Allah said we will join them and we will not deprive anybody of their deeds. And despite that, every soul will be held accountable for whatever he has done. So yes, we will have individual accountability, but of course also families will be upgraded to the highest status that was achieved in that family. So which means we need to encourage one another in piety. But the past is past. You're already married now. It's done. We should learn from it. Those who are not married, when you are choosing your spouse, make sure you are choosing somebody because of Jannah. Because things in the world will pass away. Everything on earth is going to pass away. The only thing that will endure is the countenance of Allah, the Lord of incomparable majesty. Now, when we think in terms of some of the challenges we do have, it's actually power struggle. It's actually power struggle. And it's in terms of who gets to decide. It's about me, I, and myself. And sometimes it is, I'm smarter than you are, or I should be the one deciding this. And so we have a whole lot of issues there. And some of the other scholars, presenters have already touched on this. But I just have this that I want us to reflect upon when it comes to the issue of intimacy. Because a lot of time, when intimacy becomes a problem for the husband and for the wife, sometimes everything else just starts getting bad from there. You know, everything just gets spoiled. The issue is who decides when. How many times is enough? What is good enough? Who gets to decide? A question that is often asked is, in terms of women saying, it is my body. Well, it is her body. And in terms of the man yelling, it is my right. Well, it is his right. So how do we navigate this? How do we make sure that this pleasure, that you can get reward for doing it, because that's based on the hadith, that you can get the reward from Allah for doing this in a halal manner, which your marriage is halal, and so this is part of ways of actually getting blessings of Allah. How do we ensure that we maximize such an opportunity? Just a brain teaser, I just put this image there. Even though I've seen this image a million times, figuratively, today is when I actually ask myself, who is the guy in this picture? I am saying myself, well, it has to be this guy. This has to be the guy, right? It's not because they painted his face or they put a beard, but from just looking that he's the one reaching across the aisle. So I'm saying to myself, this is probably the guy, but who knows, maybe I'm wrong. But looking at this image, I just asked myself that question. That who is the guy in this image? Because if you look at it this way, you don't see any, there's no hair, there's no features, they didn't put anything. But the fact that this guy is putting his hand across, I'm saying this has to be the guy. But you wish that men always reach out to their wives, even during the time of challenges. So in this particular example, after the have all the back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm putting this next slide to highlight something that we often don't talk about. And that is, after they finally agree and she agrees, 1 minute later is out cold. And she's saying, oh my God, is that all? This is a waste of time. This is nothing but taking Janaba, goes to Janaba for nothing. Now, this scenario occurs a whole lot more than we all want to appreciate. And so I'm saying this now at this point. If this is happening in your marriage, number one, ensure your husband knows it. So I'm addressing the sisters in this scenario, because this is a scenario of the sisters. The first one here is the scenario of the brothers, that he wants it, and that's the only thing he can think of. Nothing else matters apart from this. This is the scenario of the sister, that 1 minute later is out cold, and she's just getting started. She's not even warm up yet, and he's out, knocked out. And she's saying, man, I'm going to take Janaba, wet my hair with all this, and this for nothing. If you have this scenario, number one, understand that your husband may not even know. That's number one. He may not appreciate it, because every man thinks it's God's gift to women. We are wired that way, to think that way, except somebody points it out to you, or you are fortunate enough to see it, to have a mentor or a teacher who will actually tell you that that's not true. Okay? So, because in his own world, he may think once he's satisfied, the whole world is fine. So, many a time you'll be surprised how many women will have this scenario, and instead of bringing it to the attention of the man, they will just be angry, and they will pent up that anger, and they will keep it until they start doing civil disobedience, as I like to call it, and then problems just keep escalating. So for the sisters, if you are in a scenario like this, number one, make sure he knows. Okay? Make sure he knows. You may tell him in a very nice manner, you know, like requesting second round, third round, or fourth round. I know you are saying, man, if he's going to die, don't worry, he's not going to die. And if he dies, he's dying on active duty. Anyway, that's another one. Anyway, you can leave that, you can scratch that. But it's true anyway. But the fact is, if you have this scenario, number one, the guy probably may not know, because that's one of the things I've been talking to with many couples, and you know, being involved in stuff like this, the guy may not know. That's number one. The second thing is, you may have to work with, if he is, hopefully the guy is not Haque, because sometimes when you tell a man something, his ego gets in the way, and instead of acknowledging his challenges, he wants to do bravado, you know. So we shouldn't do that if we really want to solve our problems. So if you are comforted with that, then you work with your wife in addressing the issue. There are so many things you could do. There are so many things that could help, and of course, seek professional help as need be. But no, first thing first, make sure that he knows that you are not satisfied, that he needs it to be longer. If he needs to eat more eba, let him eat more eba. If he needs to exercise more, encourage him to exercise more. But 1 minute pass out, this is not working. Let him know in a very nice manner. In a very nice manner. Now, in terms of finances, a question that often arises is, what happens, like the scenario that the Sheikh was asked, I was online that time, when he was asked in terms of a man who tells his wife to go contribute money, to go work, come and contribute your. You see, it's because of the problem of the child environment where we find ourselves, in which in the end, everything gets split 50-50. There are some states, whether you put our name on the mortgage or you don't put our name or whatever, at the end of the day, it's 50-50. And many a time, women sit on that, saying to themselves, well, I'm going to bankrupt you, I'm going to do this to you. And that mentality kind of creep into the heads of our men also. But if you want to fear Allah and you are thinking about the day you are going to meet Allah, then let the Quran be our guide. And like the Imam Siddiqi mentioned, it is our responsibility as men, as husbands, to take care of our homes, to take care of the financial responsibility. And this is where àwọn obìnrin tó máa ń ṣépè fọ́kọ wọn, As far as I'm concerned, then because if you are causing your husband that he will have no money, he's going to be wretched, nothing good will come his way because you are fighting. If he now has no money to pay for the rent, he has no money to buy food, are your children going to eat sand on the street? So what's the point in you causing your husband instead of you making dua for him? That, oh Allah, may Allah bless you, may Allah let you have money, may Allah let you. I mean, that's what you do for your husband. Just because you are fighting doesn't mean you should be cursing your husband. Because what if Allah now accepts it? And then your husband is now wretched, he's poor, and he can't afford anything. And they are there, okay, so by a few minutes later, you know, so we should be people that will want the best out of our spouses. And for the man, my dad, may Allah forgive him his shortcomings. One of my greatest regrets, honestly, I'll tell you this, as painful as it is, I'll still share with you. One of my greatest regrets was when I left Nigeria, I never went back and my dad was alive. My dad died before I ever went back to Nigeria. And in my formative years, we spent very little time, even though I spent some time with him, but it was not the same. Because as soon as my mommy died and I was on my way from primary school, I went to high school, from high school straight to college, medical school, from medical school to internship. I worked house job a few more years and I was here in the United States. So that's getting that opportunity to learn from my dad was not really that much. But I'll tell you this, some of the stuff he told me as a little guy, as a young guy, when I reflect upon them, I see the immense wisdom in them. And that's why it pained me that at the time I now appreciated them, I wish he was alive so that I can go to him and go get more. But he's dead. May Allah forgive him and forgive all our parents and who have passed on. May Allah forgive all of them. But one of the things my dad told me, it took me a while to actually understand what he meant. My dad said, "Tí ebi bá ń pa ọmọ èèyàn, ìbànújẹ́ ló máa ń jẹ́. Tí ebi bá ń pa ìyàwó èèyàn, ìtìjú ni." And I couldn't really understand the difference between the two because as far as I was concerned, just hunger now. To be hunger alone, the child is hungry, the wife is hungry. But he distinguished the two. Okay, tí ebi bá ń pa ọmọ èèyàn, ìbànújẹ́ ni. Tí ebi bá ń pa ìyàwó èèyàn, ìtìjú ni. See, as a much older man, I'm still young, don't get any impression. As a not so as young as that time man right now I understand what he meant, okay? Because Colombo àwọn ọkùnrin láṣìírí ni to take care of our responsibility. Ọkùnrin tó bá ń wo ọwọ́ ìyàwó ẹ̀, sorry to say, òkú ọkùnrin ni o. Ọlọ́run má ṣe wá nírú ẹ̀. Ọlọ́run kó pèsè fún wa for us to take care of our wives. Ibi tí téèyàn ti ń jẹ́ ọkùnrin gangan nìyẹn. When she asks and you give, when she asks and you give, and Kọ́lá need the 200, kó fún 300. You see, ibi tí iyì ọkọ wà nìyẹn. Not in ká máa sọ pé kí àwọn àtìyàwó ká jẹ máa pín mortgage san ká máa Ọlọ́run má ṣe wá bẹ́ẹ̀. Kọ́lọ́run kó pèsè fún wa for us to take care of our responsibilities. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our task easy for us. I know this is tough and can be quite challenging. And I'll tell you, it is very painful for you to be married to a very rich woman who, if your child needs $1 for pizza, she's going to send that child to come and collect it from that. And you'll be like, what? Yes, but to be able to take care of all those responsibilities. Because so Ọlọ́run ló ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀. When Allah said in this ayah in Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, verse 34, Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa, Allah said men are the protectors and maintainers of the women. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and provide for us to be able to do this. Because this is a process, or this is responsibility that Allah is going to place it on us. And the women also, Allah did not leave them out of it. So Allah put it here, okay, that the righteous women are devotedly obedient, and they guide in the husband's absence what you will have them guide, right? So the women have their own responsibilities and men have their own responsibilities. Problems arise when we think we should produce he woman or she man, okay? Then that's where we start having problems. But if we all stay in our lanes and we let Allah, that we say that we believe in him and we recognize the right of Allah to make laws for us, then let's do what Allah has enjoined on us. If we do that, then things may be a little easier for us. Speaking of this part, in terms of money, and I'm going to just leave it open by asking a very rhetorical question, and that is, what should happen to joint accounts and stuff like that? So I'll leave that for each family to decide how they want to answer such a question. All right. Now, in terms of family, there are some extended family that cause more problems than good. And when you have friends, sometimes the friends can be more than they are more like friends to you. Friends, because they now cause more problems for you. And so when you are thinking in terms of your companions, surround yourself with good people. Take advice that will align with the Quran and the Hadith, and avoid instigators. There are so many people that will tell you, and you have no clue. Or what's the one that she's telling you. And many situations do occur that people, out of jealousy or envy or whatever, or maybe because they just don't know better, they will encourage you to do what they themselves will not even do. And if you even tell them that you want to do X, Y, and Z, they won't tell you anything. They'll just keep quiet, even though they know what you are going to do is wrong. These are not the sort of friends you want to have. They're not. Try your best to keep your affairs as private as possible, but don't keep too much to yourself if you really need help. Our sister, Dr. Haque, the one that gave the lecture earlier, she said a lot for us. So may Allah bless her, but marriage counseling is something that is important, and sometimes our men don't like to go, but that's not helpful. That's actually counterproductive. We should do things that will bring the family together. In terms of Islamic solutions, honestly, I think the first is to actually thank Allah. Because many a time is because we are looking at other things and we are not paying attention to the favors of Allah, even in that relationship that is having the challenges that we are looking at. We should strive to make the best out of whatever Allah has given us in terms of what we have. And if you view your relationship as a trust from Allah, then do your part first. Do your part. And more importantly, never hold your responsibility hostage because you are trying to claim your rights. And this is what Imam Siddiqi also mentioned when he said that oftentimes people think of men as being the beasts, that they want me, I, and myself. But then the woman says, it's my body. And when you drill everything down, the wife that constantly tells the husband, it's my body, leave me alone, the man will get to a point where he's going to start asking himself, so what's the point of this marriage anyway? Because everything else you can do for him, he can get in a halal manner except that one. And that's that one you are denying him of. So he's going to keep asking himself, what is he doing in this relationship? Okay, so we need to be very careful also what we are doing. And extra things that you do for your family, see it as a charity, because it is a charity. If you are doing something you are not required to do, say for example, a woman who decides to maybe buy a shirt for their son, you are not required to do it. It's your husband's responsibility to give you the money for it. But if you do that, you get double reward. How do we know this? We know that from the question that the wife of Abdullah ibn Masud went to ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so she asked the Prophet that Abdullah ibn Masud is a very good husband to me, but he's a man that is struggling. Can I spend money on his children? These are her children too, right? But she said, can I spend money on his children? And the Prophet said, if you spend money, number one, that clearly establishes to us that it is not our responsibility. Number two, there's nothing wrong when you do that. And then the Prophet said, if you do that, you get double reward. The first reward will be for charity, and then the second reward will be for helping a family member. So those extra things that you do, they are charity for you, for a family member, and you get double reward for it. So when you're thinking in terms of what you may be able to look at, think about communication, commitment, and compromise. Now, communication, we need to, of course, we need to communicate well and effectively with our spouses. We need to be committed to the success of the marriage. And this may also mean actually compromising some things that you can do without, because a little bit here and there can help foster a good relationship. And compromise can be very important because, let's face it, only perfect people will get everything they want. And that's why nobody in this world will get everything you want. You will never get everything you want because you are not perfect. So, and when it comes to the issue of children, because sometimes they are in the way, children are like pets. Don't add the second S to it, because by the time you make your children be like pests, then everything will be upside down. And then there will be so many challenges for everybody. So I could call the other staff as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of us our shortcomings. And in the last, pay attention to the last part of this slide, not the any question part, but the last one that says in life, there are more questions than answers. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You know, when we started this session, I told you, why not for the time? If we say it should continue, I can assure you, you won't know when we spend the whole day here. Dr. Laiyemo, as usual, thank you very much for the presentation. Because from my own perspective, what you normally do is to address the issue as peculiar to the community. You know, when I mean community, I'm not saying Houston community. What I mean is Islamic community, and probably even beyond that. And then, no doubt about it, from where you started, from forefathers and foremother, is quite interesting because when I ponder when you mentioned it, that were they blaming themselves? How did they resolve the issues? How did they do this? At the end of the day, the two of them got sent out of Jannas at that time. So why blaming each other? Probably they will have. It's possible, but nobody witnessed it. And then I think we should take a cue from that. It's really a reminder to bring us back to our Creator. Yeah. I'm trying to Alhaji Ibrahim, Alfa Ibrahim. I'm trying to see if people are asking questions. Okay. There's one from Princess Sharifat Akuredi. He said, does Aswajina translate as our wives only, or does include our husbands, that is our spouses, irrespective of the gender? Otherwise, it can be assumed that it is intended for men only. Please comment when you finish your lecture. Okay, Dr. Laiyemo.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So the plural, that is encompassing both men and women. So it's your spouses. So your husband, your wife, all these are included in it. So it's not just for men. Because the man is not marrying himself. So this is together. And the dua, in terms of what we are asking Allah for, is for our family unit. So this is for men and women. That's the way we should look at it. Jazakumullah khair.
The same person comment on some of a part of your presentation. He said he or she said, I'm saying she because I can see presence there. It's actually foreplay that women need more of, to be fully aroused, not how many rounds.
Okay, so I'm going to actually pass a specific comment on that.
Okay.
So she is absolutely right. She's absolutely right. Because it's not the focus of the talk, so I didn't go into details about it. Men, when they are already on the go, a lot of time men don't think that they need that lengthy foreplay. And when you think in terms of the scenario I gave you, the husband and the wife, they were actually fighting in the beginning to convince the wife. Okay, so many dynamics do happen. One should try to avoid a scenario like that. But you are absolutely right. Foreplay is key. In fact, it should last for as long as they both can get to the point when it is like, no, you have to do it now. Okay, so I absolutely agree with you. But the thing is, sometimes things do happen and they are too fast. The woman has not even started yet. If that should be a scenario that should happen, then the way it happened physiologically, the first round can be fast. The second round takes a much longer time. And if you're able to stack the third round on it, then it's going to be even be longer. And one of the things women sometimes do not appreciate is the fact that the more you have intimacy, the longer it takes the man to actually ejaculate. So the man who is having sex only once in a week is going to be ejaculating that quick. The one who is having sex every day or multiple times during the day is going to take a much longer time. So, and part of the challenges people do have is how quickly. I don't know the constitution of the audience in this talk, so I can't go into too much details, but suffice to just to acknowledge what you write here, that you are correct, but you have to take it in the case of, in the scenario of what's going on in that particular family. If this was only an adult-only forum, I'll go into more details about it, but I don't think so. So that's why I'm going to limit what I'm going to say, inshallah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Laiyemo. There is this, somebody during your presentation, because this indicates that people are paying very good attention. The person noted that when you were narrating the exchange of discussion and ideas between your late dad, Allah forgive his sin, and he said that you said it in Yoruba, that he said, "Baby bang pa omo eyan."
Oh, okay, so I see the question here. Please translate the adage. So what that would mean is, tí ebi bá ń pa ọmọ ènìyàn, ìbànújẹ́ ni. Tí ebi bá ń pa ìyàwó èèyàn, ìtìjú ni. It will mean if your child is hungry, you are going to feel sad. If your wife is hungry, you will not feel like a man. Okay, and that's beyond being sad to a man, because it's like, I don't even know how to translate that. It's a scenario you never want to find yourself in which you feel less of a man. Okay, if you are sad because you don't have money, but when you are feeling like you are not even a man, that's the way you will feel if your wife is not well taken care of. So that's the sense in terms of what happens in a situation when you are not up to what you ordinarily would want to be. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us our shortcomings. There's a statement here. I think the idea that man should take care of everything as stated in the Quran. I think problems begin when women's families are poor and expecting the woman to be the leaders and financiers of their own families back home. Western world and expectations from families is one of major issues. Well, that's true, because in a scenario, sometimes we are all from, challenging families sometimes, that people may not be as rich as we want them to be, but you do the best that you can. You do the best that you can. If you are in a situation like that and your wife needs to work to support her own family, we have to understand the wife's family is not the responsibility of her husband. The wife may need to help her own family. She may need to, because sometimes they may not be very rich enough to take care of everything. But that said, they should do the best that they can in that scenario. But there's nothing wrong with us assisting our wives and their families. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Allah provide for our needs. I'm also trying to look at because of the time. So as per whether I can share the slides, inshallah, I'll be happy to share the slides. Inshallah. So maybe when we finish, I can email it to the organizers, inshallah. Does that mean the man is responsible for the wife's family's responsibility? I believe such family male relatives should. Yeah, the ideal thing will be the men in every family to be responsible for their families. And when you look at, you see, the problem arises when we look at Islam only in the aspect that we want. But if we look at Islam as a global, as an entire holistic approach, the entire phenomenon, when you have, let's say, the issue of the father dies and then you have inheritance, men supposed to get more than women, okay? Because there are some things that Islam is the multiple parts fit together. If you separate them out, then you are now not going to get the maximum benefit. In every family, the men should be responsible for the economy of all those families. The challenge goes that when you now don't have men or men who are rich enough in those families, then that becomes a problem. The Yorubas will say, but I can guarantee you, when that man was alive, they probably don't reckon with him. They probably think he's useless. Okay? The adage means atampako, which is the thumb. Okay? Atampako ni onigbowo ika. That is, the thumb is like the support of the hand. And you can try making a fist without the thumb and see how weak it will be. Okay? But the thumb is crooked, is a little away from everything else, is shorter, but the Yorubas will say atampako ni onigbowo ika. Okay, and then they say Baba Omoko Omodeyo, that when the father is now out of the picture, then things are not the same. But yet, when the father is there, people don't appreciate him at all. Okay, so we have to pray for long life for our fathers. So for those who are out on you have to understand that's not a good, that's a bonehead move. You should be making dua for Allah to preserve your husband, preserve his wealth, make him a better human being and stuff like that. That will probably be what will benefit all of us together, inshallah. So men in every family should see it as their responsibility to take care of their families, so that the economic pressure should not be on the woman, because something is going to fail. Something is going to fail. She cannot be very hot as you want her to be in the bedroom after working double shifts and coming back home and then coming and most of our men don't regard pizza as food. So you expect her to go and work early in the morning, do double shifts, come back home, take care of the homework of the children, and at the same time look ready and be hot for you in bed. Something is going to give now at the end of the day. So economic pressure, we should try and avoid it for our wives. And may Allah make our wives people also that will appreciate the effort of their husbands. Because sometimes no matter what you do, the wives are still not going to say, and nothing can deflate you more than that. So we should do our best to ensure that we help our families and do the best that we can. How do I convince my husband about not having more babies after 3 children? Well, your husband loves you, so in terms of convincing your husband not to have more kids after 3 children, I don't know. Part of it will be he loves you and he wants more children, A, or B, he loves you, he wants to be with you, but you are the one bringing up, getting pregnant. You can, I'm not being sarcastic, if it is that he's not really looking for children, but you have intimate relationship and then Allah bless you with children, if you want to do contraceptives, alhamdulillah, that's okay. But you may have to discuss into greater details with somebody close by, because I don't want to talk too much on this forum in an issue like this. I want to make it a little more specific. So if it is in terms of not wanting children, but it's not that he wants children, because typically men don't go to their wives because they are thinking, oh, I want to let her have more children for me. No, many a time he's going because he wants you, and then children just happen. So if you can work it out in such a way that you can minimize having children, but not in terms of committing abortion. I'm talking in terms of prevention of pregnancy, which is what contraceptive is about. So that would be a topic for a different forum, but that would be something you and your husband can probably discuss, inshallah. Somebody said he's raising hand aloud because Brother Hamid Chitu has raised his hand all the while.
I think we can I'll meet Brother Ahmed Shitu now. Please go ahead, Brother Ahmed Shitu.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Jazakallah khairan, very briefly. So you mentioned the, doing things for Allah's sake. And even though if the wife is, a billionaire, you should always give out the money. So if one say doing all these things, and I think Allah promised, one can seek Jannah from that, from doing that. And also, if Allah bless you, in Jannah, we are told, a man will be so strong that, more than one wife will be available. So is that a good background intention or kind of a thing to have, in doing all these ajih for the family?
If your intention should be to serve Allah at all times, and the more you have that niyyah, the more Allah will even make things easy for you, except if Allah is testing you. Because number one, you are never going to become poor on account of giving out in charity. You are not going to be, because this is guaranteed. The only thing is Allah can test you with your wealth, because He said, so you can get all the tests at any time. That's Qadar Allah. So, but in terms of you being good, it is for you. You will get your reward from Allah. And it will not diminish anything from you. If anything, it will elevate your status before Allah. So I say this to all of us. If there's something good that you thought of and you know it's something that Islam encourages, don't let what people say or how they'll be discourage you from doing what is right, especially for your family. Because man's first line of charity is actually to his own family. So I don't know if I answered your question, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us. But we need to look inward. There are many people who are here in the United States that keep changing their phone number. From Sprint, because team of family on monthly, call but that may be for me. I said you have to change the phone number. I'll see cricket. So the issue is, instead of running all over the place, you can speak kind words, if you don't have the resources to do charity, then speak kind words. Speak kind words. So we should be people that people won't see as enemies, or people that they want to run away from on account of them asking you for things. Allah Alam. There's a question here that says, how can we begin to enlighten some men in the Nigerian community that believe that American society calls for shared financial responsibility, period? Now, this challenge is what I was alluding to, because here in America, the women want to claim their rights, but they want to ignore the Islamic injunctions on them when it favors them. Men also want to ignore their own rights or responsibilities when they think this one favors them. It is for us to say to ourselves, we will obey Allah, and so walk according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put on our shoulders. That's what I think, because when we connect back to Allah, the Quran and the Hadith, and so the man sees it. And one thing, now that you even bring this issue up, something just occurred to me again. During the time of the housing bubble that we had around 2000 that you have all those, elevation around 2003, 2002, 2006 and stuff, and then you have the crash. Now, there are many people who bought houses, not because they felt they were rich enough to be buying houses, but because everybody was following the fact that, I want to move out. Okay, so many people who couldn't afford it, they left on account of wanting to be like other people. And so it put unnecessary burden on so many families. And they will get interest-only loans so that their initial payments are very small. They move into the house, and then 1 year, 2 years later, the thing balloons, and they needed to make money, and there is none, and then they have to go back to their apartment. Right? But the issue is, in the first place, our auntie, we make our husband go and do things they can't afford. And we know they can't afford it. But because we don't want to be a apartment, these are big problems. Because after a while, the man feels deflated, he just says yes. And if he's relying on you to bring part of the money, and then you start looking down on your husband, I do this for you, I do that for you, I do this for you. And then the husband says, to hell with you. And that's not what we want. Okay, so what I think we should do, this is my opinion, Allah may Allah forgive us. The husband should plan for his family based on his own resources. Chicken, if all you can afford is a 2-bedroom with a few rats and a few mice, a few, a few iron, stay there. Do not plan your life based on the income of your wife. Don't plan on it. I mean, she may be we pray for her to be as good as Khadija and the wife of the Prophet who laid her resources at the feet of her husband. But I would say don't plan on that. Don't plan on that. Plan on your resources for what you can afford. Because that way you won't have to be worrying yourself about or other things that you feel deflated as a husband. So plan based on your resources. Plan based on your resources. So in terms of making the husband say the shared financial responsibility, Iyoko need to be asked and Columba Sharia to give. I mean, I don't know what else to say on that one. Yeah, last one help all of us. So for the who wants that one for her husband, then you have to understand you have to be making dua. You have to be making dua for your husband. And the same thing for the men. Be making dua instead that Allah make things easy for our family, inshallah.
Okay, Dr. Laiyemo, the last one I want you to make comment on before we round up is this one we said, must men always be the initiators of intimacy? What's the Islamic point of view on this?
That's a very great question. And I'm going to share it with an anecdote, with an anecdote from a brother who told me this. He said one day, exactly that same question that you asked, a brother asked that question to himself. And he said to himself, all these years that he's been married, he's always the one initiating intimacy with his wife. So he said, you know what? I'm going to wait for her to initiate. He said the first week went and they were not fighting. He just wanted her to be the one to initiate. The first week, oh Lord. Second week, oh Lord. Third week, oh Lord. He said by the fourth week, he said this is a bad experiment. It is a bad experiment. And the thing is, men are not wired the same way women are. Men are not wired with the same way as men. A woman can go without it and nothing is wrong with her. She's not into it. There are some women who really don't like sex. You'll be surprised. There are some women who really don't like it. And when you sit down in counseling sessions, sometimes they will describe it in so bizarre ways that you'll be like, what? It will blow your mind. Men and women don't see sex the same way. I can't tell you how many times I've had counseling sessions with young couples about to get married. Because I said to myself, after I've attended many nikai, that wallahi, one of them is still giving me goosebumps. We're about to do a nikai. I wasn't the one solemnizing them. And then we're just talking, and then I asked the husband, something just came out, and I asked him about ghusl. And the guy has no idea what ghusl is. And we are there celebrating. We are going to do after nikai right there. In fact, then I asked him, okay, what do you say when you want to have intimate relationship with your wife? And he had no clue. I had to write it right there on a piece of paper for him to know. I said, after this, if I am going to be part of officiating team of any nikai, I will personally want to talk to the husband and wife myself before the event. I mean, because that day I just couldn't take it. I just couldn't take it. So, and I tell you this, in all honesty, I have never had any session with couples getting married and I ask them,
what frequency is good enough, and the wife picks a figure that is higher than the husband. It has never happened. In fact, the closest I ever got to wow was when the lady said she's expecting it's going to be every day. And the husband said, every time I want it. That would be the closest answer. Usually, the wife may say, once in a week, and once in a month, and the husband will go every day. Or there's always a whole lot more figure for the husband than the wife. So for the man that is waiting for his wife to initiate, I would say maybe so, and that does not mean anything is wrong with your wife. It's just the nature of the beast. I was looking at an old slide earlier before this presentation, and I put it there, and I said some questions we don't know the answer, or why things we'll never know. And one of them was why a man would do it last night and he still wants to do it this morning. And the wife would be wondering, you know, you see, that is the nature of man. It may not necessarily be the mindset of the woman. So, but for the person who asked the question, I hope it's a guy. If you are the one waiting, maybe one day you share with us your experience, how long it took you before you cut off that experiment. So, but Allah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Laiyemo, for this beautiful presentation. We're going to have dua. That is going to be by Dr. Ibrahim. Dr. Ibrahim, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I'm here, sir. Jazakallah khairan, Doctor, for this presentation. I mean, Doctor is also a member of Masjid Mu'minin by extension. I mean, we have had a lot of occasions where we have the doctor in our midst, whether virtually or on site. So, and we've always enjoyed his presentation. So we pray to Almighty Allah to continue to be with you, to bless you and reward you for this effort. Of course, we know time is fast spent, and I know several other people want to ask questions. But inshallah, we hope and pray that we'll have another opportunity to have you, invited to our midst to, present for us something related to this. Jazakallah khairan. May Almighty Allah accept the effort as ibadah. And as we also pray for you, we also remember ourselves. May Allah give us better understanding of what you have shared with us and give us the ability to imbibe it and put everything to practice. Amin. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين ربنا لا تدع لنا في مقامنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا كربا إلا نفسته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا ضالا إلا هديته ولا عسيرا إلا يسرته ولا ميتا إلا رحمته ولا حاجة من نوائج الدنيا والآخرة يا لك رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا أنتنا لا قضاهيا ويسرتها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. At this point, we also remember some of our members who are out of town, out of the country as we speak. We pray to Almighty Allah to be with them wherever they are. Anytime they plan to return back to the state, we pray to Almighty Allah to bring them back safely to us. As we also remember those of our members who are sick at the moment and those who have passed on, we pray to Almighty Allah to forgive all those who have passed on. As we also remember to pray for those who are sick, may Allah give them a shifa. Amen. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. آمين.
Jazakumullah khairan, Dr. Laiyemo, Dr. Rashid. We thank everybody for joining us today. Just wait for a few more minutes. If you have any announcement by the member of the executive arm of the community, please go ahead to make an announcement before we call it a day, inshallah. I don't know if
President Femi said is not having any announcement at this time.
Okay. Oh, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Excellent. Do we have any program coming up? We want to use this opportunity to announce. I think the next week is we have our halakas, right?
Oh, yeah, I think Brother Adedina has something for us.
Oh, all right, inshallah. So I'll meet you right now. Okay, I'll meet yourself, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. One of the topic of discussion today is, the whole theme of today's discussion is around marriage, how to strengthen our marriage, what can we do to, to sustain our marriage, and NCNMO at the national level, that's the National Council of Nigerian Muslim Organization. We have these annual couples retreat program, which is very, very exclusive. It is open to all, but the slots are very, very limited. It's becoming very popular. And this year, it's going to hold in Hawaii, in Honolulu, Hawaii. And the registration fee per couple is just a paltry sum of $850, a whole weekend in a 5-star hotel, you and your spouse, with a lot of sessions, a lot of, we have a lot of good testimonies, even from within our community, those who have attended in the past. So to cut the long story short, at this point in time, there are just 30 slots. And the registration opened yesterday. As we're talking right now, it is already, I think we already got about 18 that have signified interest. It's first come, first serve basis. All you need to do is go on the NCNMO website. I think I shared the link on the chat, so we can go back to this link. If you want to register, it's going to come up in October, I think mid-October. I forgot the date now, but so October 11, yeah. So please, if you want to take advantage of the program, it promises to be very, very interesting. Dr. Laiyemo can attest to that. He's one of the resources over the years, and many other world-renowned lecturers and resources. So something to look out for. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dr. Ed, I have a quick announcement, please, if I have a minute. So, inshallah, I'm just using this opportunity before I do the announcement to let us know that Dr. Laiyemo has also written some books on marriage and relationships. I mean, I don't have the title on top of my head now, but I think we can go to Amazon to check them out. They are really very good books. And
I'm still here, I can tell you.
Okay. Yes, please let them know.
It's actually entitled Three Guys Talking. It's a trilogy. Many people actually bought it from Mosadiq. Some were even supporting it, and they bought more copies more than one copies. It's entitled Three Guys Talking. So it's a trilogy looking at relationship sincerely and unapologetically from the man's point of view. And why is that? Because a lot of time men don't say anything until the marriage is about to crash, or when they are themselves are the one crashing the marriage. Or yes, and they are already fed up, but not early enough. So I realized, okay, instead of writing this, why not write it from the point of view of the man in the relationship? So that's why the title is Three Guys Talking. So three guys talking, looking inwards at their own relationship and talking about it. So the first is a trilogy. So the first one is Three Guys Talking, my wife or my children's mother. The second one is Three Guys Talking, when ladies fight back. And the conclusion is Three Guys Talking, the romantic tragedy. So that's the whole series. It's not an expensive novel. It's only $2.99 if you get the e-copy. But if you get the paperback, it's only $9.99, which is $10. But if you get it, because usually I bring it to platform, but because of COVID, there's no platform this past one. But inshallah, if you buy it and you bring it anytime you see me, I'll be happy to autograph it for you, inshallah. But more importantly is when you have it, because I know most of you have it, you just didn't read it. So I'll say, please read it. When you already have it, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair.
So inshallah, before we go, just like Dr. Elias has said, by next Sunday we'll be having our men's alaqah. So we want people to come around on time. It's starting by 8 a.m. I will be sending out the link out very soon. It's usually the same link, and we know the women will be having their own starting like around 11. So please, let's make it a date. And also that same day, that Sunday, we'll be having the first edition of this program, which is going to be organized by the TTY alumni. They are putting a program together, and we really want people to come around on time. We're going to be having one of the Sheikh in town in the person of Sheikh Joe Bradford, and he will be talking to us on Islamic Finance 101. Islamic Finance 101. We all know Sheikh Joe Bradford. We know he's an erudite, speaker. I mean, when he starts speaking like this, we don't want him to finish. So please, let's mark the calendar next Sunday between the hours of 3 to 5 p.m. So please, let's come around to support our TTY alumni. This is going to be the very first edition that they are going to be doing so, and they need our support. Let's pass on the information and pray to Almighty Allah to make it easy for us. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right, so again, we thank everybody for joining this month's edition of the Fiqh class. We hope it's been beneficial, and inshallah, we hope to see you again. Inshallah, by next time, it will be very close to Ramadan. So inshallah, we are planning the topic around Ramadan, inshallah. Tentatively, Ramadan is scheduled to start, inshallah, I think on the 13th of April. So most likely, we'll be talking about Ramadan, inshallah. But till then, inshallah, let's stay safe. And subhanaka Allahumma bi'andika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Wa iyyakum.